Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have guest Diana Mary Rose. She is the author of a new book, I think it just came out last month, Atlantis and Gaia, Magic, Reincarnation, COVID, and Earth Healing Today. There's a lot in that title. There's a lot to talk about, especially in the realm, we've gotten into reincarnation a lot on this show over the years. I've had my personal experiences and belief in it. Maybe you don't, but, hold that aside. Open your mind and listen to our guest, Diana Mary Rose Knight. She's also a psychic medium, Reiki master of healing arts, and a classically trained homeopath. A lot of topics to get into. Some of the stuff when it comes to COVID we can't totally get into, or, you know how that goes. This is already demonetized just for saying the word. It's like Lord Voldemort. You can't say the name. We can't say it, right? Oh, how stupid the world has become. Yes, and we missed last week. I am so sorry. We do have Katrina Cooper, spiritual medium, my friend, and Rhodey Speak, also my friend, and Paranormal Mamas, rescheduled. They will be back in August. I don't remember which date, 13th or 18th, like that. But we will have them back. I'm so sorry. Technical problems last week, storms, no internet, uneventful events, just life as it is. But I'm glad we are back tonight. We got a great guest. She'll be joining us after the World Wide Web of Weird. And boy, 2 weeks gone, we got a lot of weird to get to. So let's go ahead and get rolling on into it. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight's guest, we got her in the waiting room, but she will be with us after the World Wide Web of Weird, after our first commercial break. And then later in the show, we can open the phone lines. You want to call in and ask her questions and talk about your own experiences. Do you believe in reincarnation? If you were a fan of this show, you know I do. I've had my experiences, and we can talk about some of that tonight. But when I get into her book, I've been reading it, Atlantis and Gaia, Magic, Reincarnation, COVID, and Earth Healing Today. I can't wait to talk about this book. I'm just a little ways in, but it's definitely very intriguing. Joining me tonight, no Jamie, sadly. It's been really hot where she's at. She's got some kitties she's got to take care of. She's exhausted. I don't blame her. Get your rest, Jamie. We will miss you. I miss you because we didn't do a show last week. But we'll have Jamie, I'm sure, back with us next week. But joining me from St. Augustine, Florida, I'm sure just as hot, is Rob Archie himself. How you doing tonight, Rob?
Yeah, it's been pretty warm here. And humid.
Yeah, we've had the humidity and the rain. Luckily, just the one spot in my basement yet that I have not fixed from leaking. If anybody's watched the show over the years, this show has been shut down by rain and leaky basement. So far, I've, just one little player area. It doesn't affect the show, thank God. Last week was just a lot of different things ended up happening. We didn't have a show. But this week, we're here with our guest tonight after this new World Wide Web Weird, after the commercial break, Diana Mary Rose. But tonight, we got a lot of weird to get into, so let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, I thought I'd start out with this article. Another UFO has been filmed in the skies over Las Vegas, and now we've talked over the several weeks now about the Las Vegas incident, as we call it. The backyard incident, I guess, is 10-foot aliens in somebody's backyard. Man, that story is, I don't know. It's still a crazy story, and that kid's credibility is kind of all over the place. He's contradicted himself several times. Listen to the Doug Papa podcast if you want any more information on that Las Vegas incident. He's a great investigator covering it. But now they're talking about another UFO. I think it was a meteor we saw that night. Back, in May 1st. But this is definitely not a meteor, what we're about to see. All right, let me get the share screen up here. We got, it says remove. Wait, I got to do that. That's right. Okay. So another UFO has been filmed in the skies over Las Vegas. Earlier this month, we reported on a case of a family who claimed that an unidentified object, and this is from Unexplained Mysteries, that had crash-landed in their back garden in Las Vegas, and that they had also witnessed two strange entities that had happened to appear within the vicinity of the crash site. Now another UFO sighting has emerged, this time involving a witness who filmed strange lights hovering over the city back on June 22nd. A separate witness later corroborated the footage with still images taken from a different angle. The phenomenon consists of two interlocking white circular beams of light which seemed to hover in place, and according to the first witness, remained visible for 20 minutes. So could this be evidence of alien visitors, or is this more conventional explanation? In Las Vegas, there could be a lot of conventional explanations. There's a lot of weird, there's a lot of entertainment stuff going on and sky stuff. I've seen a lot of aerial shows. I don't know what this is. I don't know if that's what this is. Go ahead and play it. It's odd. I don't think a flare or a lantern or anything like that. It's pretty high up there, bright. It seems like quite a distance. I don't know what this is. But I tell you what. Yeah, go ahead.
I wonder how many UFOs are actually up in the sky cruising around like during the fireworks and stuff like that.
I've always wondered that since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I've always been bored by fireworks. I was a half time probably looking up in the skies for a UFO.
Be like the
Never been a UFO. Happy 4th of July weekend, everybody. I'm just not a big fireworks guy, I know. Art Bell would be disappointed. Here's a closer image of it. Again, that Las Vegas incident, what you see fall does look like a meteor. I can't deny what the meteorologists say and the experts, on that. I've seen meteors looks just like a meteor, but that whole incident, man, Doug Papa's podcast, you should check out if you haven't, if you're interested, is just weird, especially the police response to it. Now, Homeland Security might have put those cameras up. I wanted to talk about that last week, and I couldn't. Look, it's like something comes up to meet it. I don't know. It's weird.
What is that?
I couldn't give you, I'm not an expert, but I couldn't give you an explanation of what we're seeing here. I don't know. It's Las Vegas, though. Who knows? All right, let's move on. And then, of course, last week, I was going to come on the show and talk a little bit about the whole Titanic fiasco. I'm not going to even get into it. It's sad. That's all I'll say is it's sad, but there's more going on at the bottom of the ocean. People do research on, and we've covered this before, is A.V. Loeb's expedition to find alien spaceship debris, basically from what he believes was an object that fell to Earth that could possibly have been an alien craft that broke up. So A.V. Loeb, this is from Unexplained Mystery. A.V. Loeb's expedition finds metallic sulfur on ocean floor. I was also going to cover last week, they had found a anomalous wire filament kind of thing down there too. For some time now, Harvard astronomer and theoretical physicist A.V. Loeb has been heading up in an expedition to search for evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence at the bottom of the Pacific. His goal is to find the remains of IM-1, an interstellar meteorite that exploded over Papua New Guinea in 2014, and that predates the discovery of, this is the one I can't say, Muna, whatever you said, that one in 2017. I can never say that. The object, Loeb argues, may have been artificially constructed by an advanced alien race, and his aim is to find enough pieces of it to prove whether or not this is actually the case. Last week, the team found evidence of a small metallic wire on the ocean floor, or wires on the ocean floor, excuse me. And now, according to Loeb's latest blog post, they have found what appear to be tiny metallic sulfurous sulfurules, that's metallic sulfurules, I don't know. I don't know, as well. Using an X-ray fluorescent analyzer, the team was able to determine that these objects are comprised of mostly iron with some magnesium and titanium, but no nickel, which according to Loeb makes their composition anomalous when compared to human-made alloys. We are now on our way back to IM-1's crash site in an attempt to retrieve as many spherules, if that's how you say it, as possible. With a large enough sample, we can obtain a gamma-ray spectrum that will characterize its radioactive elements and potentially date this sample. The fundamental question is obvious. Was this first recognized interstellar object from 2014 manufactured by a technological civilization? I find this story still interesting. That's why I've been covering it. Of course, when I see these things, it's just like SETI and all these other things where the scientists are really trying hard to look for extraterrestrial life in these far corners of the universe. We're now on the ocean floor. When I am like, it's right up in the sky, man. People are seeing it all the time. Las Vegas, they had 10-foot aliens in their backyard. You know, I'm just saying, what would these guys feel like? They're putting all this money and research into it, and you know, tomorrow aliens really do land in somebody's backyard, and it's undeniable. Like all the millions spent, and they've been here the whole time, just flying around, land in people's backyard. I don't know, but I do like this. I keep following this because I think it's going to come with something interesting. Maybe we'll see. All right, let's move on. Did someone capture a UFO in Battle Creek in broad daylight? Lots of UFO stuff happening in the Midwest, and it is UFO Day today, as Jamie reminded me in Messenger. I don't keep up with these things. I'm horrible remembering that kind of stuff or knowing, and you know, who comes up with that UFO Day? It's UFO Day. Well, there's a lot of UFOs in the Midwest. We'll start with this one, Battle Creek, Michigan, and this comes from the MITech News. Battle Creek, Michigan has always been a hotbed for UFO sightings and paranormal in general. Really? Oh, okay. Not far from me. Well, it is. But in the last few days, there has been a serious uptick in strange things happening in West Michigan and Ohio and a lot of places in the Midwest. Just the other morning, multiple residents claimed to hear some kind of whirring and pulsing sound coming from the sky in Kalamazoo. That sound could be heard near Drake and all the way over to Vine, even down near the airport in Portage. Now, according to someone in Battle Creek, Michigan, they caught what appears to be a flying saucer over Penfield by the family fair. Billy Blizzy, wow, that's a weird, great name, apparently took the photos outside of his apartment that were near there and captured 2 images. We got one of them here from the article. It's hard to tell. You can go to this website and see some more photos of it. So you have that, and he said, there's a drone out there that looks like it's a flying saucer, but you can see from the photos of any saucer model drone, the bottom looks quite different in the photos. They can do a comparison. It does not look like a drone if you zoom in on the scene. Then, let's go on. Let's go to Article 4, so we don't run out of time this. More in Michigan. Multiple witnesses report seeing fighter jets engaging with a UFO on June 3rd. Actually, I think the other one took June 22nd. This happened before. In a curious case out of Michigan, multiple witnesses say they saw a pair of military jets engage, and this is from coast to coast, and what they describe as a dogfight with a UFO. The intriguing incident reportedly occurred earlier this month. It was observed by 4 people in the city of Bad Axe. What a great name. According to one witness, Christopher Bilbrey, as the group was moving in his camper, their attention was suddenly drawn to the ear-shattering sound of 2 jets in the sky above them. They would circle fast as they could, looking intently for something, he wrote to the National UFO Reporting Center. Initially, the group was uncertain as to what the aircraft was searching for, but then Burby spotted a white metallic disc that was hard to see as it was shining within the sun. The witness went on to marvel that the fast-moving object was capable of overtaking and outmaneuvering the fighter jets with extreme ease. Burby indicated that the UFO would pass one of these jets and then stop suddenly and seem to turn toward them. The aircraft and spin while remaining stationary in the sky. Amazingly, he noted that the jets fired in anti-missile flares as if they were under direct attack. Man, where's your video, buddy? You got a phone. Everybody's got one. Everybody's got a camera. This was going on long enough. You should be pulling out a phone video. I'm not saying his incident is real. Maybe he was in shock and awe, and I think that does happen. But I want video of this, man. Really do. Somebody who loves fighter jets and flying and all that. I would love to see some fighter jets dogfighting with a UFO. The strange show in the sky occurred three times where we say it. See, 3 times. Why? Where's your video? An aircraft departed the scene with the UFO remained behind and seemed to circle the area almost as in the victory lap. That's awesome. Last, due to UFO seemingly using the sun to provide visual cover, Barbie indicated that he was unable to capture the wild scene with his cell phone. I get that. It is really hard. I tried to get video footage of something that was really out there. It was nothing compared to what they were seeing, but it was no chance with a cell phone. So I get it. It was the daytime. Damn. But the mysterious object apparently did not. What exactly Barbie and his companions witnessed that day is unknown. The local police department told area newspaper, they did not receive any reports concerning the strange event. You'd think somebody else would have seen it. There's 4 people, and this is going on. Maybe it's more of a remote area. But it's a bit concerning when you hear that your, fighter jets of your country are out there dogfighting with UFOs. What's going on? I don't think that's a fight those fighter jet pilots can win. And why are we shooting at UFOs? I know we're in high alert. That's why we're so close to nuclear war and all that. So that's not great for the UFO air traffic. Let's move on. All right. So we had the battle jet over battle. Let's see what's up. Oh, Ohio. That's right. Yep. Midwest, man. This one, when I first saw this video, I said, "Oh yeah, that's so CGI." But then there's another video, and I don't have it. I thought I had it in this video. I don't. From another angle, from somebody's backyard, and it's almost exactly the same thing, but it still looks like CGI to me. So are these people posting this, making it look like it's a real thing to take her? See, I think they post fake crap to take our attention away from other things that are real, real videos. I felt like that when I first saw this. So maybe, I don't know, and maybe that was a worry with if somebody had video, they thought maybe of this possible fighter jet thing going on. I don't know, but nobody, obviously, they couldn't take video. The phenomenon, which was observed by multiple witnesses near a busy intersection around 10:30 p.m., consisted of several bright green lights, and I said this was in Ohio, seemed to rotate anti-clockwise. Footage captured on the spectacle shows it moving off at high speed after a few seconds, but is this evidence of extraterrestrial visitors, or is this something else going on? According to Brian Simpson, president of the Cincinnati Astronomical Society, the phenomenon might be quite what it seems. I think the real test of this is if you get a lot of reports of the same thing. Otherwise, it probably is fake. By lots, I mean I see at least 20 different reports. There's 2. There's 2 videos, and I don't have the second one. Go ahead and play this. Excuse me. I mean, just off key perspective, I've seen so much CGI, fake UFO crap. That right there. Most of the time, the fake stuff, they don't want to show you the exit, because the exit a lot of times is the key to seeing that CGI. I don't know. And I saw the other video, and it almost looks about... I wanted to compare the 2 videos, because the other one looks like it's almost exactly the same thing. But is it just somebody making 2 different videos and making it look like it's posted somewhere? Like I said, I don't trust anything. So, I don't know. It looks amazing, and it's probably why it's CGI.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of Midwest UFO stuff going on. I mean, it just seems like... I mean, we had of course, then you have the Las Vegas scene's not the Midwest, but I've been hearing lots of people seeing UFOs in the Midwest and in activity. And maybe it's not just the Midwest. I had actually last week one, I think, in Argentina. I still have that one in here. That's the next one. So this is Argentina, not the Midwest. Now, this one's interesting to me. From one of my favorite YouTube channels is the Hidden Underbelly 2.0 is great for paranormal videos of all different kinds of subjects, and I don't know the guy's name that does it, but great channel. And this one is really interesting. I got the article from Coast to Coast. Video footage of a glowing UFO was recorded on June 10th, my birthday, in the city of Cordoba, Argentina, according to Hidden Underbelly 2.0. In the 30-second clip, the well-lit cigar-shaped object can seem to silently glide above the witness before descending into behind the tree line. Go ahead and play it. Loading. There we go.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah. Now, what this is, I don't know. That's really loud audio on there. But it goes behind the tree line. Yes, you can fake CGI that, but that doesn't look like CGI to me. It doesn't look like CGI to me.
Objeto no identificado.
To turn the volume down or mute it, it's too loud. Sorry.
I'm trying to get there.
Yeah, I know. But, Brazil, I mean, has always been fascinating when it comes to UFO stuff. And I'm still interested to hear the whistleblower stuff, because accordingly, at one source, one of the whistleblowers that we haven't gone public, but is talked to Congress, was part of the Brazilian, UFO recovery team, whatever. Like, Brazil has so much history with UFOs, crazy experiences. So whenever I see anything from that area, UFO footage-wise, I got to take a look. Imagine if that UFO attack that happened in the 1970s, Corrales, Brazil, or something like that. This was Argentina. Yeah. Anything like South America-wise, like I said, UFO craziness in South America. But like the Corrales Brazil, was that it? Whatever, they had the ships attacking people and like they had burn marks on people. Imagine if it happened now.
No, yeah.
Because, even people down in South America got cell phones and cameras.
Probably what needs to happen right about now.
Yeah. Well, all this is going on, and everybody keeps talking. I remember the Titanic story here last week or the week before, that whole coverage. People kept talking about it's a distraction from what? That's an old video. You can show this really quick. I don't have the article for this one, but I thought I put the picture in there for the other one. I might have forgot to erase this, but this is an interesting one. It's a viral one. There's no real provenance to this video, but it's supposed to be like they filmed this guy glowing out in the field. We got a few minutes. I got through it quick. See, I was going to have this last week. Here, a little extra World Wide Web of weird. I don't know, when it doesn't have a provenance, what this could be, whatever. This could be something reflecting in the field that he's seeing, but according to the story, they're seeing a glowing person in their field, but not much provenance to that. So that's why I cut it from the World Wide Web weird this week. Add in extra stuff because, like I said, everything's a distraction now. I keep hearing so much about each time we have a different event or something happening on, it's a distraction from this or this is a distraction from this. Either distraction from corrupt government stuff or distraction from them doing. I don't think it takes much to distract people.
I was going to say it's only a distraction if you let it be.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't think they have to work that hard to distract us. Like the whole Las Vegas UFO instance, they said that's a distraction. Or the Titanic thing with those poor people dying. And yeah, they were rich. Who cares? I have empathy. Get some. I'm just saying. I thought the whole story was sad, and it's especially sad that this is why people come up with these conspiracy theories like this because they did know that it imploded by the equipment this Coast Guard had. And one of the things my wife is like, well, look, this is what they're distracting us from. She even went for it, and she might not be wrong. Is USDA? This is our actual article I thought I had in there, picture of it. Maybe I forgot to switch it. Is the USDA approves lab-grown chicken? Here's where to buy it. That's the article from Forbes. Yeah, that's it. Tastes like chicken.
Oh, hell.
I don't know if it does. U.S. Department of Agriculture approved the sale of chicken made from animal cells Wednesday. I've been covering the meat on the stick theme because, would you eat meat grown on a stick kind of deal? It's allowing two companies to reportedly bring lab-grown meat to upscale U.S. restaurants in San Francisco. Yeah, that's where you should try it first. Yep. And Washington, D.C., following increased popularity of sustainable alternatives to slaughtered meat. Good meat and upside foods. I love, what do we name this company? Good Meat. Soylent Green was an idea, right? No.
Exactly.
And Upside Foods, two California companies that sell the lab-grown meat, received final approval from the USDA on Wednesday, months after the Food and Drug Administration said the products were safe to eat. Instead of meat coming from slaughtered animal that is grown using cells from a living animal, the products are not vegan, vegetarian, or plant-based since they are real meat, but without the animal being slaughtered. Good Meat describes approval as a groundbreaking moment for cultivated meat, and Upside Food says the world-changing moment brings our vision one giant bit closer to reality. While the approval is historic, it will likely be years before Americans see the cultivated chicken in grocery stores as production will be limited. And that's the thing. You can find out, they've done studies that show even if they upscale the upscaled production ends up polluting the environment through energy use and chemicals and all the stuff they do to grow it, ends up polluting the environment more than actually raising cattle.
Yeah.
Than what cattle do. For the amount of energy we have to use and pollute to do it. I'm all for finding a way not to have to slaughter animals. I am a meat eater that feels guilty about it. My mom is a Buddhist vegetarian, does not eat meat. I love her for it. I have a sore spot. I do like meat, but you know what? I feel like meat's not the same. Anybody out there tonight, call in tonight. You can change the subject for 1 minute. If you've noticed a difference of bacon, for instance, I can't even eat bacon now. It's not right.
All changed.
Not right. There's something they've changed with the food. I don't know.
Texture.
It does not taste right. It does not look right.
Nope.
I'm just saying. Something ain't right. You can sidestep from our guest because our guest tonight is Diana Mary Rose, and she's going to be a great guest tonight. She's the author of Atlantis and Gaia Magic, Reincarnation, COVID, and Earth Healing Today. We're going to talk about that. Reincarnation is a big favorite topic on this show. My personal experiences I've had, Rob, being an executioner. tonight. Sadly, I wish Jamie would love this guest. I know she would love this guest. I wish she could be here tonight. She's exhausted. No Jamie tonight, but we will open up the phone lines later in the show too for you to join this conversation. We're going to go to our commercial break, but we'll be back tonight with our guest Diana Mary Rose when we return, and open phone lines about an hour from now. All right, guys, we'll be right back.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Certificate A. Now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The international chart-topping, haunted horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest, the true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe, 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Diana Mary Rose. She's the author of Atlantis and Gaia Magic, Reincarnation, COVID, and Earth Healing Today. Diana Mary Rose is a psychic medium, a Reiki and Sekhem, if I say that right, master of healing and arts, and a classically trained homeopath. Her clairaudient and telepathic abilities are profound, and she uses those skills while writing. Telepathy means that she can chat away with the source in an uninhibited manner, and that comes through in her writings. Her lively style reflects the world upstairs, which is free of earthly concerns. Her spirit guides support her, her alter egos, past family members, and other souls who have part to play in her bookwork. Her unique style is her gift to the world, for within her writings are to be found profound truths as well as celebrity gossip. Her writing is playful but also purposeful, for through her storytelling style, she shows the reader how karma and reincarnation work. She has a degree from Exeter University in English Medieval Studies and has worked as a professionally trained archivist. Both these areas of expertise have contributed greatly to her ability to research subject matter with a rigorous eye for detail. She asks hard-hitting questions of her team, and that rebounds with the bold and bright answers from the Spirit Salve, the healing entity she works with. Today she lives and works from home in Rutland, UK. She's joining us at early morning hours, across the pond it is. I always am appreciative of my guests coming in from the different time zones. Let's welcome to the show Diana Mary Rose tonight, and we will take your calls later in the show if you want to speak to our guests. But let's go ahead and get rolling on into it. All right, let me add her to the stream. How you doing tonight, Diana?
I'm very well, thank you. And how are you?
Doing good, and I hope everybody is having a good 4th of July weekend. Over here in the States, that's what we got going on. So you will hear fireworks in the background, and hopefully not my sister-in-law's dog we're watching this weekend barking at them. But so far, so good. But thank you for coming. I started reading your book this week. I've had a very busy week, so I haven't gotten through it. Maybe that's a good thing. I won't give away anything you don't want me to give away on the book tonight. But I'm finding it very intriguing. As I've said, if you might have heard me earlier in the show, we've covered reincarnation a lot on this show in the past 7 or 8 years. I've had my 2 very personal, vivid experiences, plus a past life regression from my friend Chris Lee. But the really ones that hit home are the 2 vivid dreams I had of past lives that convinced me that they're real. And I don't have proof that I lived those lives, but it was the emotion and the truth of it. And explaining the wiring of who I am in those 2 past life visions, I feel like were gifts given to me. And I always had a feeling as a kid in past lives, like I just knew. But when I had both the first vivid dream, especially, I was convinced. So how did this start for you?
Yes, I think probably quite similar to you, actually. As a small child, I used to have all sorts of sort of fears and phobias, and also dreams and sort of just senses of different times in history being happy or sad or terrifying. And certain things really, right from the day I was born practically, were awful. And one of those was the First World War. You know, anything about the First World War was absolutely horrific. And over time, because of course being brought up in a, you know, Church of England family, you know, Western society, as a small child, you think you're just being silly. But over time, I now realize that I was actually a soldier in the First World War and had a horrific death. And that would make perfect sense why you come in with a fear of that war. So, yes, you know, that's right. It all started in childhood. And also, I mean, another experience was going to Versailles when I was about 12 or 13 and having the most electric experience of going around. I couldn't believe I was there. I just had the most wonderful time on earth. I never wanted to leave. I was energized and excited by it. And I now realize, after, you know, years of sort of research and meditation and seeing all sorts of things later on, that I had a life at Versailles, and it was a very happy life. So, yes, and also as a child, I had an innate sense of reincarnation in the sense that we all come from somewhere, and then we go back to there, and then we come back. So a sort of recycling element, I would say, to how life goes on.
It just felt natural to me as a kid.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely right. Yeah. And then your parents come along and say, no, it's rubbish.
Not mine. I'm lucky. My mom wasn't a Buddhist at that time.
Oh, okay. That was good.
But she did become a Buddhist later. But I live in with my mom and dad, a very open household. I'm very lucky in that realm.
Right. I was in the closed one.
Yeah, most people I know.
Yeah.
So I feel lucky to have the parents I did. You know, I do, because they allowed me to grow up in a household where it's like, you know, question everything, and, you know, kind of a Gnostic setting, you know, and allowed me to discover on my own, you know. And my mom was on her own journey. She, like I said, became a Buddhist. Yeah. I for me, I'm into Jediism. That's what I tell people. I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt. But you know, I'm spiritually a Gnostic. You know, I question a lot, but I don't question the idea of eternal life in the sense of us being reborn. It always you actually kind of, one of the parts I like about in your book is you kind of say, what a bore, just go sitting up in the clouds like heaven. That idea, that's what I thought when I was a kid.
Right.
I was like, well, what do we do then for eternity? You know?
That's right. Yes, resting in peace up there forevermore. I think, well, and that always confused me as a child. I think, well, they keep going up there, but then, is that it?
Then
they
what?
Just keep going up, you know. It doesn't make any sense. Whereas the reincarnation theory, and more than that now, rather like you and me. I mean, I've seen things, I've heard things, I've felt things, and so on. I realise it's there. But the reincarnation makes sense of everything, you know, rather than just going up there and sitting on the cloud. That's right.
I remember having these conversations with Christian friends. One of my best friends in high school and out of high school, and one of my first roommates was very Christian, not like hardcore, you know, but he grew up in a very conservative Christian background. Yeah. And he was just like, well, I just don't buy the whole reincarnation thing. He's like, if you are reborn without your memories, then what's the point? Like, you're, you know, how you know. And I'm like, well, if I hit you over the head and gave you amnesia, are you still you? Are you just your memories? Or there's something much deeper inside of you that's really you? Yeah. And it kind of shut him up. I remember that conversation, but it didn't convert him or anything, but it made him think, you know. It's like, you know, you're basing yourself on all this ego, memory, this facade you've built. Yeah. There's something deeper. And when I had this conversation with him, it was after I had my first reincarnation experience dream. That, like, the first one I had, I was a little black girl. A slave that was beaten to death by my white master father, biological father, in front of my mother. It was such an emotional experience. When I woke up from it, I was sweating. Like, I felt every blow as he beat me with a stick. And I somehow intuitively, like, I've known that it's like, you know, dreams that fade from your mind so quickly. These two dreams don't. Like, the images and the feelings are solidly there all these years later, because I'm 44 now, and I was, like, you know, 20. it explained so much, that dream there explained so much about my wiring. I've always been like, I have a pet peeve about people having power over other people, controlling them. You know, I'm a very libertarian kind of guy. You know, I don't like anybody having control or power over anybody. I actually was going to be a police officer, and I think what I ran in line with myself is that I didn't want to have power over other people either. You know, that's what I ran into. And that explained wiring to me. The other one I was a Buddhist monk that discovered my, I guess, temple master, whatever, I don't know, was a kind of a fraud doing opium. And I turned him in to these authorities, I guess, government. There were men in gray suits, or gray uniforms, not suits, gray like uniforms with just basic, very primitive rifles. And they raided the temple and basically shot and killed everyone. And I was running through the jungle. Last thing I remember is them at this ridge in the jungle. And then 3 soldiers looking down at me and pop. And I feel it hit my chest. And I woke up like screaming.
Yeah, yeah.
This was some years later. And that dream, I thought, you know, I reflected, meditated on it. And I really, it's still vivid in my mind, feel like that explains my always, I guess, I mean, I was very anti-religious for a long time. Like, I was disrespectful to Christians and stupid. I don't think people should be that way. But I was very arrogant. But I had this innate hatred of organized religion. I still don't like organized religion. But I also, through discovering this, kind of grew out of that kind of angst towards religion altogether and really dug deep into religions. You know, like learning different religions. But I think that inwired in me was that I had this experience in a past life that I had been lied to. And then I also was like a Judas and had like my guilt of basically telling the truth and getting everyone killed for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I found as well. Also, that the personality that you're born with comes from your past life experiences, which makes perfect sense, you know, because we all have a unique character within us right from the day you're born, and with its fears and its delights and its talents. It must be said, talents come from a past life as well. So when you've got a very strong talent, you find that you've had that in several past lives before. I mean, for example, my son, when he was born, I've got 4 children. The first one, you couldn't stop him pulling musical little toys around the place and listening to music all the time. Now, the second one, third one, the fourth one, they didn't. They couldn't care less about music. You know, you give them the same toys, and just threw them around threw them on the side and did something else. Now, the oldest one, he's gone on to grade 8 piano, grade 8 cello. He went on to do sound recording at university and so on. And so you can see how that music came right through from very early age. And you spot other things with the other children as well. So it's very useful when you're sort of aware of reincarnation and karma and past lives and all this kind of stuff, and you happen to have little kids around the place. I
have 2 sons. I've had this experience.
Yeah,
I had this experience with my sons and their different personalities and the stuff they said. Like my youngest son, Liam, he's 7 now, but when he was like 3, he told my wife that he chose us.
Indeed, he would have done, absolutely.
And what was really, really meaningful about that is that the week I was supposed to move out of my parents' house to get into our new house, me and my wife were getting married at that time. I saw he's my youngest son. I have an 11-year-old son named Dean. But I saw him, this is many years before he was born, a translucent boy walk through my parents in bright daylight into my parents' living room. I wasn't scared at all. I felt like overwhelming love and compassion. And that boy, I know it was him.
Yeah.
Like, and so when he said that to her, that was like, she knew that I had told her this. That I had seen him before he was born. I knew the moment he was born, that was the boy. He smiled at me when they took him out from a C-section. And I knew that moment. That was the boy.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I mean, all my kids. Some of them had recurring dreams as small children, and when you go into the detail, this is the thing. One of them had a dream, and he was in a crowd, and he lost his mummy, and then it all went dark, and and this went on for years, on years and years.
Yeah.
And when he was about 4, I said, "Well, how old are you in the dream? He said, oh, I'm about 6 or 7. Well, I mean, there's just no logic to that.
He's not 6 or 7 yet, know.
You don't dream about yourself being older. And my other son had a dream of when he was a grown up. I said, well, I'm a grown up in this dream, and X, Y, and Z happened, and I'm very wealthy, and then I lose all my money, and I've got a gold cane, and and he could describe it all. Well, this is when he's 8, and he's describing somebody who's over 30, So but when you think of it as oh, this is a dream about a past life, it makes absolute sense. Otherwise, it's completely weird. You'd be dreaming about yourself, wouldn't you? Your own age. So little kids' dreams are absolutely fascinating, particularly if you just question and just try and get a little bit more detail, because they've got it in them. They don't always tell you that unless you ask.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, in our household, we're very open to these things, and we talk about it and try to, it's not like we're trying to encourage them to, do past life regression with our kids or anything like that. It's we listen and we
just
pay
comes out
attention
naturally,
and we're open to it, and we explain the idea to our kids. We they go to church with their grandparents and all that and stuff, but in this household, it's I got a Tibetan Buddhist painting up on one end, and I have Salvador Dali's Last Supper up on another end. We're very eclectic, and then so my kids are being raised in the open ideas concept, like kind of like I had, but even more, and so they're open to these concepts, and I'm interested to see what they'll be like in the future. How they grow up, and anything I'm trying to teach them is compassion, because there's a lot of lack of that in the world nowadays. This book, I don't know if you heard me at the intro, because I compared the word COVID to Lord Voldemort in Harry Potter. You say that here on social media, and they're like, what? We've got to censor you? We have to censor you? We're going to censor you? Yes, a lot of the stuff in your book would totally be shut down on this video that you say, but I am 100% behind you. It's just that I will be totally shut down if I try to talk about some of the stuff you say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I've heard
You
that
understand.
several times over. There's certain non-subjects.
But this is why you people need to get this book.
Yeah.
So you can read it yourself. Don't depend on just listening to YouTube podcasts, because you definitely can't get the total truth on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch or any of these other places we stream to, unless I just want to do internet radio, But, if you want to see us, we kind of have to censor some of this stuff. I hate that. But I am reading your book. I love it already because of where you hit home on the truth. I think we live in a society that thinks everything can be fixed with a pill or a cure or for all kinds of conditions.
Yeah.
And I've always been a big skeptic of that. I don't know. Maybe that's a past life thing. I don't.
Well, no.
Something innate in me has always been skeptical of it all.
Yeah, I mean, I studied homeopathic medicine about 20 years ago, and that was one of the biggest eye openers of my life, because I had no idea before that the mind affects the body. And actually, that's the one thing with homeopathy. If you go to a homeopath, they will always look at the emotional content behind your physical disease.
Right.
And that is treated as equally, if not more important indeed, than the specifics of the disease. I mean, it all comes together. Mind, body, and spirit are one. And and then actually, when you think, as you think about it, and you also prescribe on that level, and you find people get better. Whereas if they are just given drugs for their physical condition, they don't. It might keep it in check, remove the pain, but it doesn't actually cure it. And I mean, doctors know that. They tell you that when you go into the surgery. Well, it's not going to cure it, but it will, it'll help it or alleviate it or slow it down or whatever, And with homeopathy, it's different.
Yeah, I'm not telling people they shouldn't listen to doctors or take their
No, of course not. Of course, you need to look at them. You need to go and get your diagnosis and everything else. But I think what I'm saying is there are natural medicines out there which
that
can be used together. They can assist.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, the mind and the emotions have a huge impact on illness.
We've had, like I mentioned earlier, Chris Leon is a past life regression therapist, and he does these past life regressions to eliminate conditions within people because they experience their past life, and if it's connected to a pain or condition or whatever, and when they see it and experience it, a lot of times it eliminates that condition.
Yeah,
And I always
absolutely.
thought that's so interesting that we carry like scars in our auric field or our energy field into the next life, our pains or deaths, like they're in there. That energy's in there.
Yeah. In order to cure something, you have to look at the mind in this lifetime, but also go back through multiple incarnations sometimes, where you find that there are aspects to those which are contributing to who you are now, and that's impacting on your physical body. So it all becomes very complex, but also absolutely totally fascinating.
Right.
That's what I enjoy. I just find the fascination, and also the positivity behind it all. Because actually, if you find the right practitioner, you delve into it, and you meditate, and you use natural medicines and all sorts of things. You put the whole lot together. Then you start to your health can improve dramatically, and not only that, but also the psychic side starts to come back, because we're all naturally psychic. And this is something I found over the last, say, 10, 12, 15 years now. I've been meditating daily, and that has brought through my psychic side, which was always there, but it's now a lot stronger as a result of meditating. So that's something that I put in the book as well. I talk about meditation being a terribly important aspect to life.
It's something I've tried to get back into. I got really heavy into it in my 20s, and a lot of psychic experiences definitely came out of getting back into doing meditation.
It's amazing. It's wonderful.
But then life kind of happened, kids and work and everything that got away from it. I'm trying to get back into it. It's hard to get that quiet time. I used to be a guitar player, and musician, and I even have a best friend that's trying to get me back into it. And it's like, I just don't get that alone. Like meditation for me would also be music, and writing. And to have that, I needed like complete isolation, I needed to be like no prying or listening ears and let me just flow, and that's been hard. With the last 11 years of my son and both my sons. And I'm trying to get back into it because I need it. I need to get back into that state. Like I still have psychic experiences and stuff, a lot, but not like I used to in my 20s. I think that's because I just got caught up in life. It's hard to get back into that quieting that mind, basically, to get to that state, For you, what was your first experience that you, like, wow, I lived another life? What was the first life you kind of like recognized, past life?
Well, I think one of the most interesting ones, I wouldn't say necessarily the first one, but it was about 25 years ago now. And I was in a state of meditation, and another healer was actually helping me at the same time. So she was sending her energy towards me too. And I went into this sort of deep trance, and I found myself in a tunnel with light at the end of it. And I saw these arms reaching down into the tunnel to pull me out the other end. And I absolutely knew, that I was this young soldier in the First World War who was in the process of passing over back up to spirit. And I reached those arms, I reached the top of the tunnel, and I felt the most overwhelming sense of universal love and tranquility that I've ever done in my life. And I remember saying, I was obviously completely traumatized, saying to these sort of beings of light, I did my best. I did what I could, and what came back was, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how well you did, how badly you did anything. All that matters is love and healing from now on. And it was the most remarkable experience, and that I think, like as you were saying, once you experience something really deep like that, you never forget it. It was quite extraordinary. So that was the as I understand it, that was putting pay, I think, to that life in World War I, through healing, but actually experiencing the moment of that death. Incredible.
I think when people have these experiences, I know from mine, is also like when you really deeply have one of these experiences like that, I think it shows you that the person you think you are, there's so much more to it. Like me being a little girl or me being this Buddhist monk,
Yeah.
you know, I am that person.
Yeah.
You know, I am them, but it's, you know, a different personality, a different, you know, but it's still me, you know.
And a different gender. I mean, I didn't think, oh, that can't be me because I'm a woman. You know,
Right.
you're just in there and being who you are. And I knew that I was something like a 17-year-old boy at the time. I was obviously a very, very young soldier. Yeah. So yeah, we swap genders all the time, and bring through different aspects to be healed in this lifetime. I mean, that's the other thing in the book, is that I'm looking at different incarnations and how why you are the way you are and your mission in this lifetime. You know, we all come through with a mission to achieve, and how that relates back to previous incarnations where there's unfinished business, you know. Yeah, extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, all my favorite movies, I always talk about this on the show, are movies that have to do with like the afterlife and reincarnation and stuff like that, like What Dreams May Come, Beetlejuice, you know, movies that have to do with the beyond, I guess. You know, I've always had a fascination with that. And like I said, it's always innately been in my mind that reincarnation is the most likely scenario. But does everyone come back? Are they forced to come back? Is it a choice?
I think yes. I think when you finally reach the nirvana, you end the cycle of reincarnation altogether. You are a highly evolved soul, but for most of us, we're still working on it. You know, still working through, because every lifetime produces its own karma. You can see how it could be quite difficult to finally get there, because you have to work through all the karma created through your, well, bad actions, I suppose, from previous years, and learn your lessons, and then gradually evolve, and not make any more mistakes. But it seems to me that the answer, the big answer, is to meditate, because that seems to really push you forward on the evolutionary progress, and also releases negativity from your auric field at the same time, so that you learn to love more, and you're more enlightened in terms of life in general. You know, meditation's the way on. Yeah.
That feeling you described of the unconditional love, and I've had that. I was attacked for months by this shadow being, basically, when I was a teenager. And it drove me to a point of almost madness, and this thing attacked me one night, and I was saved when I called out to God, you know, the higher force than me, humbled myself, basically. And I felt this just overwhelming compassion, love, like no judgment, and about anything.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
And to me, I call it the force, God, whatever. But that made me really dwell spiritually in the idea of a higher power.
That's right. And also certainly with me, through meditating, it's brought through. It's certainly brought through clairvoyance more strongly, but also clairaudience as well. So I started to hear sentences in my head, and then I'd hear words when I'm walking the dog or mowing the lawn. Then I'd get quite a lot of phrases coming through. Take me forever to mow the lawn, because somehow it's the noise in the background which creates the sound through which you start to hear things. You know, it's interesting.
It's almost like the white noise effect.
Yeah, doing the hoovering, it's the same thing. So it'd take me forever to finish off hoovering the house, because I'd be writing all these words down and noting them down and trying to work out what they meant. And then gradually over time, it was about 3 years ago now, I suddenly realized I was actually having much, much more than that. I was actually having conversations with somebody up there. And he is my spirit guide now, as I realize. And it's morphed into something called telepathic audio, which is the word that I heard him tell you. You're beyond clairaudience, which is hearing words. You're actually conversing,
right,
with the spirit world, and in particular with my one spirit guide. I can hear other people as well, but he's the one that comes through because he's the one who's helping me with writing my books. And it's a very distinct accent as well. It's not just I hear his voice rather like I'm hearing your voice. It's him, and so on. So, yeah, it's extraordinary.
I find it interesting that you find that you first started noticing it with the kind of like the white noise kind of idea, because people do now in paranormal investigations the Estes method, or you call it, where they basically blindfold themselves and they put like sometimes it is a spirit box or like an SB7 playing bunch of noise or white noise, or they'll do that, and it's kind of like sensory deprivation. But in that white noise, it's like they're hearing.
Yeah, absolutely
the
right.
voices, and they're getting asked questions without knowing that the questions are being asked by people around them, because they have the noise cancellation, but they're hearing the spirit in the white noise.
Yeah. And to start with, you think, oh, maybe I just made that up, and so on. But actually, over time, I think the big difference for me in the early days, I'm talking about 10 years ago now, when I was just hearing the odd phrase, is I would write it down, and then you just write random pieces of random words, random whatever down, and then you go through it afterwards. You realize, hang on, there's a message in here somewhere, and trying to work out what the theme is, And now, fortunately, luckily, I don't need to do that any longer because I have much stronger connection. But it's all about building up your psychic connection with upstairs, as it's called. And there are always messages of kindness and of instruction coming through. There's nothing strange or sinister at all. It's always good news. It's always help that comes from afar.
So does this guy? What's the name of your main guide?
Thor. He calls himself Thor. He's a Viking god. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the actual Thor Viking god, or?
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah. Wow. That's his name, and he stuck to it. Absolutely. This is another thing. I think when you start to hear messages from afar, the confidence builder, shall we say, is because the message never changes. You cannot make the message change. It always comes through. It's the same. And that name Thor has been coming through for years, and he's sticking to it. So yes, in the end, you have to accept. No, it really is a message from up there, and
What kind of what does he talk to you about? What's the messages usually revolve around?
He helps me with reincarnation. I've always been absolutely fascinated by past lives and reincarnation. And when I started to write my book, which was probably about 2.5 years ago now, I take dictation from him. Nothing in the book is mine, really. It's all his words. And I hear, these days, I will hear a sentence. I'll decide on the subject matter. That's okay. And I'll put a chapter heading and everything. And then off we go. And as I'm writing one sentence down that I'm hearing, he's giving me the next one. So it is a constant sort of, furiously trying to keep up with what I'm hearing in my head. And it just goes on and on and on. And it's all about past lives. And then the extraordinary thing is, it's talking about concepts of reincarnation and so on, as I do in the book, and also karma and how it all happens to be. And then he'll just throw something in, like George Harrison or John Lennon, and you think, hey,
I noticed that.
What? What? And then so these names of celebrities just get sort of chucked into the conversation. I thought, okay. So I then put a chapter heading. Okay, let's have a sort of subsection here on George and see what turns up. And this extraordinary sort of story comes out. So I write that down. But that's how my celebrity sort of aspect came into the book. It wasn't me looking for it at all. I was looking for truth about the reincarnational process and karma. But in the process, I think they're little stories to help people understand reincarnation and karma by giving a well-known personality.
Well, people can connect to that. They know that person's incarnation, and if it's another, and it seems like, I mean, like I've gotten somewhere into the book where you get into Shakespeare and Prince Charles and other famous people in their past lives and their connections. It's like and I think you do mention this. It seems like a lot of famous people were famous people in the past. It seems like a recurring thing.
And also, I think that the reason for that is because they have huge power within their auric field. And because they are very highly evolved souls. And if you're a highly evolved soul and you have a lot of power in your auric field, you tend to get noticed in your next incarnation because that power is there. You may just be a little lad from Liverpool kicking a football around, but your power is huge. And that is what propels you into superstardom, is the power behind the scenes. So yes, I mean, also an interesting thing that came through in the book was, as you say, William Shakespeare, is that he was clairaudient. So he heard his plays, rather like I hear my book here. He was hearing his plays. Now that makes perfect sense when you think about how on earth can one man write all those works of genius in such a short period of time, because he was taking dictation, and you think, I can go with that. Well, how otherwise could he have done that? The words are so perfect, and the speed with which he turned those things out are ridiculous. So yes, the message was that he was an audio clairvoyant too.
Well, they've tried to say in history that, well, was it Sir Francis Bacon and other people that that Shakespeare wasn't real, but if you read, I mean, a lot of people have not, and I've read Shakespeare. It seems the same author. You know what I'm saying? There's the same. I'm a big fan of certain authors. Their style and their feel and that, and you get that in Shakespeare. It's not like, I mean, all over the place. You would think if it was multiple authors.
Yeah,
like a group
it's not
of people
possible,
doing
is it?
it.
Because
Yeah.
it's the same language that comes through. And also, actually, although I know it is Elizabethan language, obviously, which makes it very different from today, but it's also fairy language. The sort of words he uses are language that I hear too, up there. There's a certain style, a certain psychic style, which is prevalent. And he brings that through in his book. So there's lots of reasons why you would think, I think he probably was very psychic now, when you think about it. And also another thing which I've put in the book because I heard it was that he was reincarnated from Virgil. Virgil wrote the Aeneid and Georgics and stuff, very famous Roman poet. And he was the reincarnation of that. So again, it's working on your trade. And that's something we all do through multiple lifetimes. We work on our trade. So he's a poet. He was a poet in the Roman times. And then he works on that and uses that same kind of skill, but in the theatre, So very interesting.
Don't you say too, though, that was it Churchill the next?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's right. And then it went through.
That's
to
a whole
him,
different kind of
theater
there, war,
him being,
basically.
Churchill in modern times, and also Johann Sebastian Bach as well, which is interesting. So but yes, I mean, you think about Churchill, and Churchill is very Shakespearean in many respects, isn't he? With his great, his great speeches and so on. I mean, he's very, dramatic and powerful. So, but they're all part of one thread. And this is a word that comes through a lot, a thread. You pull through a thread from your past lives, and when you do that, there are quite a few little knots on it called incarnations, and you bring those personalities through. So if you're trying to, as I've done, because I'm a Reiki healer, you're healing an aspect of the physical body, what I will often see is a whole chain of incarnations which relates to that one physical condition I'm trying to heal. And that's called a thread. Another thread would be completely different aspect of your personality or your physical body that you're trying to heal. So different get different collections of past lives, which kind of get lumped together. And with him, those 4 seem to go together on one thread. Yeah. Now with George Harrison, he has 2 aspects to his past lives. He has the monk aspect. He's been a monk multiple times over.
Yeah,
and
share that. I like sharing that with George Harrison. And we've both been monks in past
and
lives.
you can see how he's very dedicated to meditation and so on in this lifetime. And he's also been a musician and an artist. So he was Vivaldi in a past life. Now, if you look at Vivaldi was a monk and a musician at the same time. And that's what you've got with George fundamentally in his fascination with Eastern wisdom and chanting and all the things that he was doing. You know, he was a very, very spiritual man. So he's brought those through from previous lifetimes. George Harrison, John Lennon came through as a peacemaker. A very famous peace man called Hiawatha is one of his back catalogue of lives. Now, again, if you look at John Lennon in his lifetime, sort of outside the Beatles in a sense, he was a great man of peace. You know, talking about Vietnam.
Yeah,
and,
the FBI didn't like him.
No, he didn't like him at all. Absolutely.
Talking about Vietnam War, yeah.
Yeah, give peace a chance. One of his songs, you know. So he's a peace man, whereas George is, you know, George has slightly different aspects to his personality, but yeah, they're all different.
They're all imperfect as humans are. You know, I mean, John Lennon had issues. George
Yeah, of
Harrison had
course.
issues.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, you know, we're in a world where we have these expectations of people and we cancel people for stupidest things, and nobody's perfect. We all have our flaws, and that's what reincarnation, I think, really digs into. If you look in your past lives and your personality, you know, there's things we are working on. There's a reason we're coming back.
Yeah, but again, I think something that came through quite strongly was that you can evolve and still do bad things down here, you know, in terms of maybe morally dubious, you know, and so on. But it doesn't matter if you achieve your mission and you meditate.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like John Lennon really put himself out there for peace. I you know, could have got him killed. I don't know, or he was just letting too many people get close to him. But he was also imperfect. You know, he had drug issues and he had abusive relationship issues. You know, I love John Lennon. He's like one of my favorite all-time musicians. But you know, you get in his bio and all that. You know, he was a troubled person. Yeah. But brilliant, and he did his mission.
Yeah, sometimes you have to be a troubled person to have the strength and the, you know, to get out there and get your message across. Yeah, so that's quite a positive thing for all of us, really. I think that you know, you don't have to be like angelic, you know. In order
well, that's the
to,
thing. People go after like the founding fathers. We're in the 4th of July week, and people go after our founding fathers for their imperfections of, you know, don't even care about the historical times they lived in. And it's like, but they were brilliant men, no matter their imperfections. You know, you know,
that's right.
You know, you can blame society at the time, or whatever, or what, but at the same time, they did a mission. They had a mission on this earth to create a country, to give you freedoms. You know, happy 4th of July to everybody. Shameless plug for 4th of July here, I guess. But it's like, I'm a big fan of JFK. You know, but he was definitely a very troubled person. You know, you know, he slept around on his wife. That's a horrible thing. But at the same time, I think he saved this nation from nuclear war. You know, I think he went against the military-industrial complex at a time when they could have put us to the brink. And I feel like we're in a karmic circle of that right now. I don't know if you've seen that, how you feel about that. But a lot of the things happening now remind me of the history of JFK's administration to now, with like we are reaping the poison fruit, as I heard Robert Kennedy Jr. just recently said, of this karma, you know, of what he set forth. He was an imperfect person, you know, but he did something. He had a mission. He had a mission, and at that time, it served its purpose to, I think, save us. And I'm a little worried about the future now.
Yeah, the message coming through has always been that there will be no nuclear war on Earth. It will be prevented. It is simply.
I hope.
I
hope that's right.
That's something that's come through a lot of actually. That is something which is simply not going to happen. But but yes, I mean, all war leaders, all leaders around the world are highly evolved souls. You know, some of them
Don't feel like that. I'm going to
it
just
doesn't
argue with
feel
you
like
there.
it.
It does
No,
not
it doesn't
feel like that.
it. Some of them have gone wrong and create the most
Some of them-
horrendous karma, like Adolf Hitler. But they have power within their auric field, and the only reason they have power in their, you know, in that auric field is because in prior incarnations they have meditated a lot. So they've gone off, gone off piste. It's called. They've taken the wrong turning,
Off script.
and off. That's right. They've gone completely off script sometimes, but and they'll have to come back again and again to sort that mess out. But
What do you think would stop? Because I mean, I know you get a little bit. I haven't gotten that far in the book yet, but about extraterrestrials. Some people think extraterrestrials will prevent a nuclear war. We've talked about that a lot on this show, especially with the UFO disclosures and all that going on. I've always been up in the air on that one. Is that part of what you think would stop it?
The way it would work, that I've been told, is if you've got, say, a leader and he's lost the plot and he's just about to press the button, that button won't work. Or the guards will burst through the door at that moment and gun him down or whatever. You know, but it'll be human intervention, or it'll be technology failing. It won't be say a little green man from a UFO coming out.
There's cases though, like Maelstrom, where where they had UFOs in the sky and the whole nuclear armament was like shut down at the base. Mm-hmm. You know, so that's why people come up with that idea that, you know, they would prevent us. I don't know. I am a big fan of the ancient alien theory and our past and past civilizations, and I think we've had nuclear war in this.
We have. Absolutely right. Yeah, that's something that comes through in the book again, is that there have been terrible nuclear disasters in the past, and they have actually shaped out the landscape that we have today. So if you look at certain areas, say the bit around Mexico, for example, there are big scooped out areas, and they have been created through blasts in, you know, times of so long ago, of course, that we.
Well, what is it? The Gulf of Mexico. I mean, that's like what, 67 million years ago, something, an asteroid they believe hit. There in that area, but I mean, I've seen, you know, the evidence from places like in the Middle East and like Iraq and Iran and Dead Sea. There's a lot of evidence of possible nuclear war that could have happened in our ancient past.
That's certainly true, and you're right. I mean, the nuclear war finished off the final civilization of Atlantis. The Atlantean civilization. They were aliens and they did come in spaceships, but there were several invasions. There were at least three separate invasions, and that's why you get so many different stories about Atlantis. You get the wonderful mythical, you know, paradise one where they're all telepathically audient. I mean, it was a very silent community because they didn't need to communicate. They could communicate telepathically with each other. They could speak. They didn't have to. They came to heal the Earth after some massive disaster that had happened to it, which had wiped out the dinosaurs, and they came back to put all the ley lines in. They brought healing herbs from elsewhere, put those in so that that the indigenous population that they brought through as well to live here could heal themselves naturally. So that's the sort of the wonderful, you know, Atlantis civilization. But then there's a later one where they became very corrupted by material gains, and they were scientists and they started doing all sorts of strange experiments.
Sounds familiar.
It finally ended up with a nuclear, you know, button going, and which finished the world off. So Atlantis has got so many different sort of stories behind it, and they're all true, but they're about different times in history,
different eras.
Different eras.
Because it would have spanned thousands of years, you know.
But God knows how many. A long time.
Obviously, you know, it had an effect on our civilization now, in our cultures, and there's a lot of different references. I mean, you go back to Plato as the earliest that we know of when it refers to Atlantis, but you look at other cultures, they might not call a past civilization Atlantis, but it sure sounds like it. There's a lot of evidence that there was some pre-civilization to us. And then, like I said, I'm a big Ancient Aliens guy, that I believe that we've had alien contact going back to the beginnings of our creation, and their possible hand in it, the creation of us.
Yeah. Another thing that came through, which was interesting, was the Atlantis civilization interbred with the indigenous population. And they produced the superheroes that we come across in ancient Greece. The heroes with who are
Titans
sort of,
and
sort of mythical beings, but also humans who, like, whoever they are, Perseus and all this crowd, who were simply big and stronger and much more capable than others. And they were sort of a half breed between the two. And also, I think if you go on the internet, you'll find sometimes in museums, remnants of huge fingers, huge hands, which are sort of way bigger than ours, and they are the original superheroes. That's what I heard anyway. So it's quite interesting.
You also have in the biblical terms or of Nephilim. And the idea of the angels breeding with man, and they were giants.
Oh, okay.
You have this idea in multiple cultures.
Yeah. Because it happened.
Right.
That's right, and it's told in Storyland. So you get these different stories coming through, but they all reflect a truth that's somewhere in a long time ago. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful. I mean, who wants to be, sort of an atheist, or, just think, oh, we just live once and that's it. We just sort of
what a waste.
What a waste. What a shame. Because so much of this is magical and heartening. It really.
What affected me in this idea when I was a kid is I saw a very classic old Twilight Zone episode when I was a kid of a guy who. He dies, and he's like in this hotel, and he's got all the women he wants, all the booze he wants, wins every gambling game he plays. He's got everything he wants, and he's like, "This must be heaven." Of course, it's a Twilight Zone episode. You know how it ends. Not long later in the episode, he's completely sick of it all.
Yeah.
And finds out, this is hell.
Yeah.
And I thought about that. I'm like, eternity. I mean, what could you do? Eventually you're going on another adventure. I mean, it's the reason why we read books or why we escape in movies. I think life is a reflection of the as above, so below.
Yeah.
That's why we we escape in story, and why Shakespeare was so brilliant. We escape in the story because that's the essence of us. That's why we're here. We're escaping in a story right now. We're coming to learn something. We have to detach from this higher self for a moment and forget about who we are to have an experience to learn.
Yeah, that's right. There's so much to learn through stories and through your own fantasy, because your fantasy takes you to places of truth. As I say, as a child, and you were saying the same. You absolutely know all these wonderful things, and then you get shut down by society or by your parents, telling you, oh, no, it isn't like that. And then you spend decades trying to, pull it back up and finally realize, no, I was absolutely right. And they were the ones who were fooled, in a sense, by the rules and the church and, all the dogma that is around us. Opening your mind is one of the most wonderful things you can ever do.
I like I said, what I loved about reincarnation in my experiences is getting you to realize that you are more than this persona, more than this, this character of I like this, I don't like this, and I am this, I am not that. Realizing that's all a facade. There's something so much deeper, to who you are, your soul or higher self. But when you have a vivid experience like this, or a regression that gives you a vivid experience, or a meditation that gives you this vivid experience of living as someone else, has a different personality, it's an eye opener to that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I think my experience of having those 2 vivid dreams were gifts. You know, they really explained why I'm wired the way I am, but I'm also not who I think I am.
No, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I've certainly had several lives as a healer in the past, and I know some of those have come to a very tricky end through persecution.
It's funny you say that, because the one past life regression I did with Chris Lee to explain my neck issue I have and my hands. I was having real. It did help with my hand issue because I was getting all this throbbing pain in my fingers. I don't have that so much anymore after this. The neck issue I still have, but I live with it. It's fine. It was definitely better for a while after this regression. But in the regression, I was like like 1400s female in the 1400s left to die and rot in a prison cell for being a witch, a healer. And I was just left forgotten about, starving to death, and I killed myself basically by using my own chains to, hang myself. And that's why I have the neck issues. It was really, I mean, he guides you. It was a really awesome experience. I definitely recommend Chris Lee if anybody wants to check him out. But I found it so fascinating. Again, it wasn't like the 2 dreams I had where I was really there experiencing it, because it's more like a guided meditation, but it was all just coming out of me,
Yeah.
this experience. And another reason why I probably would hate organized religion, another reason why I'm wired the way I'm wired.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, certainly, I mean, I've always been very, very silent, really, about these things. And I think actually writing these books is part of my karma.
Right.
Now I now understand that, through being persecuted in past lives for being too open about, clairvoyance and healing and stuff, as a lot of people were in the 17th century and earlier, and having the sort of most horrific deaths then, I came through in this lifetime as a very cautious person, I mean, basically,
it makes sense.
I was very silent. In fact, I remember my dad saying, maybe a few years ago now, 10, 20 years ago, you were such a silent child. We didn't really know what was going on in your head. I wasn't aware that I was silent. My thoughts were all over the place, but I can understand why I would be.
Right.
You just keep it to yourself because,
you learned. We got to go to commercial break. Are you good with taking phone calls when we come back?
Yeah, of course, yes.
All right,
Yeah,
all right. We got to go to commercial break, guys. We'll be back with our guest tonight is Diana Mary Rose. She's the author of Atlantis and Gaia Magic, Reincarnation, COVID, and Earth Healing Today. Yes, we're getting a lot of different topics here, but especially in reincarnation, karma, all that, and Atlantis. We can talk more about Atlantis when we come back, but phone lines will be open after we return from this commercial break. Don't call during the commercial break. I usually have it down till we come back, so just wait till we come back from commercial break, and we'll open the phone lines. Take your calls if you got a question for our guest tonight, Diana Mary Rose. We will be right back.
An experiment into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Reincarnation magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranormal Magazine and soon, ParanormalMag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
The answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is $42. Yes, I thought it over quite thoroughly. It is, it's 42. It would have been simpler, of course, to have known what the actual question was.
But it was the question. The ultimate question. Of everything.
That's not a question. Only when you know the question will you know what the answer means.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is Diana Mary Rose. She is a psychic medium, Reiki master of healing arts, and a classic trained homeopath. We're talking about her book, Atlantis and Gaia Magic, Reincarnation, COVID, and Earth Healing Today. A lot to talk about in there. I've been reading this book. I'm enjoying it. I've always, I believe in reincarnation and had a fascination of what it means ultimately. Is the answer 42? No. What does it mean coming back and incarnating? What's the ultimate end? Is it nirvana, enlightenment? You know, what are the lessons we learn, and the dynamics that it plays in our everyday life that we don't realize is what I've always been fascinated. How it makes us who we are. All these aspects of reincarnation are just fascinating to me. If you've had a past life experience, call in tonight, join the conversation, ask a question of our guest, Diana Mary Rose. Phone lines are now, at this moment, open. Call into the show, join the conversation, but let's get back to our guest. Thank you for hanging out with us still, Diana. I know it's the wee early hours probably over there across the pond.
It's the beginning of the morning now.
Yeah.
It's light outside.
I have I've been working a lot the last week, so I'm just, like I said, just getting into your book. So I'm looking forward to getting to finish it in the next couple of days I get off. But I don't want to give too much away tonight on this, but you've mentioned some of the people. I'm not a big one of those like celebrity gossip people. I sometimes I think what I hate about human society is our fascination. We make gods out of these people sometimes, and the focus on celebrities. But it is interesting to see their past lives and their connections, because it's a journey. It gives you, people recognize it, connect with it. They can understand it, to understand maybe what is the meaning behind reincarnating.
Yeah, and also, I mean, another thing that was quite interesting, that came through to me, obviously, psychically, is that acting is an incredibly good way of releasing karma from your auric field. So you'll find a lot of actors are very, very psychic. And it does them a huge amount of good playing all these different parts in films and so on. And more often than not, that their choice of film will be helping them release karma from a certain situation in history and so on. So they're actually evolving as they act. So they're doing themselves a service as well as entertaining us.
Like
at
the
same
method
time.
acting, like in Tropic Thunder. I love the movie Tropic Thunder. As offensive as it is, so many people, I don't care. They show you the different kinds of actors, like the method actor. The people that overdo it. You never go full retard. I don't know if you ever seen that movie, but actors are a fascinating thing to me. I am not an actor. I have no memory for lines. I butcher I try to sound cool, and even Star Wars, I'm a huge fan of. I'll butcher the line. I've never been able to be an actor. I wanted to be a director. I went to film school. I really do enjoy film. I wanted to be a director. I don't know what that says about my past lives. But yeah.
So I do remember Peter Sellers saying that he believed he'd been pretty well every part he'd ever acted in a past life.
Wow.
A
Grand
lot
Moff
of them
Tarkin.
are.
I don't know. That's the galaxy far, far away, a long time ago. Right?
Yeah, so they're very aware. Yeah.
But that is an interesting idea. I mean, with actors, that they are kind of like playing it out. And some of these actors get so like into the part, the method acting. Like they take a dark part and they're like, I have to take a break from doing these dark parts like this because I get too intense with it. I'm like, really? Seriously? Yeah. But they're that serious. They get that deep into the part that they start like having trauma. They're like traumatized by the part that they played, especially if it's like a really dark, evil character. I wouldn't want to go there if that's the case. I don't want to think like Jeffrey Dahmer or something like that. That's horrible.
Yeah, no, I like to stay in the light, in the positive side of things. Yeah.
But I mean, I can see. I mean, some of the performances these actors put across. I just saw. I mean, kid actors. You talk about some of these kid actors are so brilliant. Sometimes we watched the movie the other night called Black Phone with Ethan Hawke. But the two kid actors blew me away. They were like so good. Like just I don't know. Like they stole they were the main characters, so I didn't really steal the show. But it just amazed me how like these kids could put on such powerful performances at such a young age.
Yeah. No, they have to be pulling on something in their past lives.
That's what I'm saying.
That's right. Which makes them appear to be so authentic, because that truth is coming straight through from somewhere else. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, to pull on those kind of emotions, what I'm saying, like to really show those kind of emotions from a kid actor, really shows something, that's adult stuff. You're hoping they have nothing in their lives to pull that from. Well, hope they don't, like being that young. But these kids in this movie really did, and I've seen other kid actors pull it off like that. It's like incredible, you know. You talk about Prince Charles. That's another one. Like I can't stand. Maybe it's because I'm in America, but I can't stand people's fascinations with the royal family. Like you know, I'm just saying like, okay, a bunch of rich farty old people. I don't care. You know, like you know, or you know, like I actually was fascinated with Princess Diana. I'll admit, like I had some dreams before her death that made me really freaked out when she did die.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm not going to get into all that, but you know, there's something fascinating about her. I'll admit, I was fascinated by Princess Diana. Like, there's just something special about her, and something awfully wrong I felt with her death.
Well, the message that came through was that she had actually she had gone as far as she could with her mission. That's not quite the same as completing your mission, but she'd gone as far as she could with that. So,
what do you think her mission was?
Oh gosh, what was it now? I can't. Do you know? I can't remember. I just remember that.
I mean, she did some great humanitarian things with the spotlight she had on her.
She
tried
was,
to.
yeah. But the interesting thing about missions is you can have multiple missions in one lifetime. You're born with a mission, you complete it, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you die at that point just because you completed it. But with some people, they do. That off they go. They've done the job and off they go. But other people can then take on another mission or even a third mission in their life. So there's no way of quite knowing when your time is up, shall we say? But with Diana, it seemed to be that she had actually achieved a lot, but she hadn't achieved quite what was meant to be achieved, and it was best to leave at that point and try again. Another life.
Or maybe sometimes
you know,
as tragic as death is, sometimes people's deaths are a catalyst for certain things, for society, for other people, push other people to do good or be better.
I mean, she I think by her death, she released a huge amount of grief from the Earth's sphere. I mean, you look at the amount of grief that came, you know, the outpouring as a result of her dying was phenomenal. Well, all that needed to come out of people. It will have helped them a lot, you know, to feel better. All that was because it wasn't to say it was about Diana, but it also wasn't about Diana. It was about whatever they've got locked up in their subconscious or within the auric field, however you like to call it. And it came out and it was released, and that was great for humanity. So she did a lot of good by, by that. Well, by leaving us at that point.
It has some more long-term meaning, maybe you think, or like, or just that moment in time that we needed.
Just that moment in time. That's right. Was I mean, it's similar, but it's different to say Beatlemania in the 1960s, when if you remember.
Well, I wasn't around.
No, but screaming. I mean, the amount of hysteria around.
But my mom
Beatles,
loved John Lennon, so
that's right. When the Beatles came over to America, for example, screaming and tears, and the youth of that time, they were completely out of control because they were so much in love with these four Liverpudlians. And again, that did a huge amount of good too to society. It altered society for good. And I think Diana, again, she changed things a lot through just being who she was. Some people are just born very, very special, but the time of their passing is as it is. It's not necessarily a tragedy up there. Everything is kind of organized for a higher purpose, which we don't understand.
But does that mean then was it predestined for Diana, or is it a choice?
It was predestined upstairs, based on how much she was likely to achieve in the rest of her life, which was zero, because she'd gone off course slightly. Now with John Lennon, as I put in the book, he'd gone off course as well, slightly.
But he
as
just
well.
seemed like John Lennon, though. What seems so tragic, because I do love John Lennon, is that he seemed like he was getting back on course.
Yes.
Like his life was coming together, and it was so tragically cut short.
Yeah. The message coming through, though, was that he had been influenced by Yoko in a slightly... it was just,
you Yoko hater.
Yeah, well, she just pulled him slightly off
Yeah.
off his trajectory, so that things didn't happen the way they should have happened,
Yeah.
And that happens all the time to all of us. We're all influenced. We all have free will, and we're all influenced by other people, and sometimes that affects your mission, and it affected his. Yeah.
Nothing against Yoko, but man, you see some of the clips of him and her. He was in love with her, obviously. I mean, he brought her up on stage with Chuck Berry, and Chuck Berry's like, when she starts screaming, the look on Chuck Berry's face is like, okay, And there's another one where they're in the studio, and he has brought her in, and you can see the tension between Paul and George and John. They're like, why you bring your girlfriend? Yeah, I've been in a band.
Yeah.
I know that feeling. You don't bring the girlfriend into the studio,
No.
No. But obviously they had their karma together for some reason.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was something he overtook him with her.
I think he was overly influenced.
Like I said, though, the always seems so tragic about John Lennon, though. Like I said, it seemed like he was cleaning up his life. He was getting back on track, trying to be a good father, and he's just taken such a tragic, senseless way.
Yeah. Well, what I say in the book is that he should have received the Nobel Peace Prize. It was kind of like clocked up there for him as part of his mission. And he didn't get it because he just. I
don't think he would have cared.
He took a slightly
getting
different
it.
course because of Yoko's influence, and then it didn't happen. And that's what happens in life, You have a trajectory, and you don't quite manage to achieve that, But you achieve a lot,
I think he did. I mean, but what I loved about John Lennon is his outspokenness against the Vietnam War. And Muhammad Ali and the people who did speak up at that time. People look at it now, you don't realize the time. I didn't grow up in that time, but I family members that did, and that it was not a popular opinion.
Yeah.
And it should have been. It eventually did. You had the whole '60s peace movement and all that for it. There was definitely people, but the mainstream, dear God, don't. You're unpatriotic, And we've gone through this again. We've gone through it, with after 9/11 and the war in Iraq, when people tried to speak up against that, and lost their careers because of it.
Yeah. There's always persecution out there, and yet ultimately, when you get the historians or whatever looking back 50 years later, you find no, they were in the right, but they just got persecuted because they opened their mouth, and the media and the sort of general consensus was against them at the time.
But that's what makes them so heroic in my eyes. They didn't care. I'm gonna call it out as what it is, and that it's wrong.
Yeah.
They
have to be strong.
Yet we still keep making the same mistakes. We still not listen to people. We're still going to war. I feel like there's a karmic cycles to war. Like, I've always been fascinated with the idea, and I don't know if did it come from Edgar Cayce? I can't remember, but the idea that all the young men that died in World War I came back, reborn, and fought in World War II as like a karmic cycle to unfinished business of what happened with Germany and everything.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, certainly I've heard a lot. I mean, I have another book coming out later, but it's about for example, the Battle of the Somme has a direct connection to the Battle of Thermopylae. So you get battles upon battles sometimes, and you find that the soldiers in one battle in Thermopylae come back. I mean, obviously there'll be a lot more as well in the Somme, but they come back to fight again.
Right.
In order to release their karma, in order to understand whatever it is they needed to understand. And another one in World War I is the Dardanelles, Gallipoli. That again has a connection to Troy, the Trojan War as well. So it is interesting about location. So I mean, certainly with the Dardanelles and Troy, they're on the same land. I mean, if you look at geographically, they're exactly the same
and World
place.
War I, World War II, we're talking about the same theater of war.
So you do get threads of wars. That's right, coming through, and people do. Yeah, soldiers do reincarnate again because they need to learn whatever they need to learn. You know.
I see it. My 11-year-old and 7-year-old are different kids, and my 7-year-old is fascinated with soldiers and war, and my wife hates it. You know, like, but I'm like, it's something in his past life, because it's been from the moment he could talk or be interested. He's anything camouflage has always drawn his eye. Like, and I'm like, dear God, don't let him go to be. Everybody wants to serve their country. More power to them. You know, like good. You know, I love that patriotic notion. I didn't join the military because I believe we live under a military-industrial complex that's putting us into a forever war. And I'm a pieces every step kind of Thich Nhat Hanh kind of guy. You know, I'm not a pacifist, but I'm close. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we're creating this karmic cycle as a country. Sadly, with what we've done over the last 40 years. Or 50 even. Yeah, and that's what concerns me when you talk about aliens and stuff. And I saw somebody trying to call in, but then it didn't pick up. That's weird. I thought it did. It was weird. I got a notification like it was going to call, but then it went away. Phone lines are open. People call in, join the conversation. But I worry about the karma we're creating. You know, like that these things have to play out, not just in a karma in our personal lives, but the karma as we do as a society. And the end results.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and I think now the world has now become one big corporation. I mean, you know, the big guys, I mean, big corporations, all sorts of things, big agriculture, big everything, big farm.
The corporate state.
Corporate state, yeah, that's right. They've taken over the land. They've taken over, you know, so that the unique aspect to different parts of the world is completely, well, it's still there, just about hanging on in there, but there's not much of it left. And it all needs to change. Yeah, there has to be a big change.
Do you feel?
Coming.
I mean, you're a person. You're psychic. You feel these energies. You're having communicate. Do you feel like we're on a verge of a positive change coming? It's always darkest before the dawn.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely right. That we're right on the edge of the new era, which is the age of Aquarius, the new Atlantean era, and that
you mentioned this in your book that all this, like almost everybody here has had an Atlantean life.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly what I heard. That the Atlantean, you know, if everybody on the world now has some kind of connection to Atlantis. They are Atlantean heritage, and that's because we're about to move into a new era of peace and harmony. But there's, you know, in order to achieve that, there's a certain amount of turmoil going around in the world right now.
Well, hear me out on this. I did a show a long time ago called what was it? What did I call it? Basically, pick your doomsday. It was. I felt like as a generation, I'm 44 years old, that I grew up in a generation that has been focused on this, different ideas of doomsday, and like we've been like prepped or some way, like we have this in our back of our mind, like climate change or nuclear war, all these things that we're all fearful of something impending, a big hammer coming down on the human civilization, like for a long time now.
No, that aspect is change of personality rather than destruction of the earth in its entirety.
I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying that like deep down in our we have a psychological preponderance to fear the worst.
Yeah. That's right, and
which is a dangerous thing, I think, too.
Well, it depends. I mean, it's all held in the astral layer, all the emotions and the fears and the karmic aspect to terrible things that have gone on in past lives. It's all there in the astral, which is normally behind the scenes. It's behind, it's in control. But sometimes, that sort of barrier can break through. And then you get all hell coming through.
If we're all, lived Atlantean lives, it would then be understandable why we would have this kind of like innate fear of some kind of doomsday, and we're always looking for it because we went through it as a society. You know what I'm saying? That's what I connect with, that idea that we might have, all of us have had that experience, because I know ever since I was a little kid, I've had a fear of it. You know, like I felt, that's what I covered on the show, is that like I felt like I've lived in this fear of different doomsday scenarios that have been put at me since I was a kid.
Yeah, yeah. But then that is you pulling on your unique experience as someone with multiple past lives, isn't it? And that's what's coming through today, maybe for you to, you know, to heal and sort out, or at least survive. You know, we all have our own individual quirky nature, and that's an aspect to you. But I don't see that happening to the world. No, I think that
I'm not saying I do either. I'm not saying I see that. It's not like I'm saying it's like like we all know its end is coming. The end is nigh. No. But it's like the innate fear of it, like it's a societal collapse and or world collapse.
Right. I mean, that's rather like my fear of persecution. But probably my persecution sense these days is probably no one's going to believe me, you know. So in the end, I've written some books, because that's a lot easier than talking to the neighbours and being ignored, you know.
Social cancellation, you know. I just stopped giving a crap, you know. We do have a caller on the line. Who do we got? 860 area code.
Hi, it's Jan.
Hey, Jan. Thanks for calling in.
You were talking about Atlantis earlier, and I wondered if Lemuria, where that falls on this plate.
Well, do you know, I mean, I haven't really heard anything about Lemuria. I've heard a little bit about Mu.
Oh, yeah.
But Lemuria simply hasn't come into my consciousness at all. I mean, my spirit guide hasn't mentioned that one. I mean, I can just mention a little bit about Mu, but that's all. Mu, as I understand it, was based in Japan, and it was blown up. There was a nuclear bomb that went up and destroyed Mu, and that is why Hiroshima and Nagasaki happened in the Second World War. Somehow there is a direct connection between Mu on that same location and what happened in the Second World War, which is quite interesting. But that's all. I mean, I channel what comes through, and actually Lemuria is just not there. It's not part of it at the moment, so I can't really answer that one.
They haven't covered that topic yet.
No, I haven't. No, maybe that'll turn up later.
Second question. We've talked about on this show Sasquatch and some of the individuals, some of the creatures that are maybe interdimensional, not necessarily of the terrestrial. What's your take on it? Do you have any inside information?
Are you talking about sort of monsters that people see in their mind's eye? Or?
Yeah, Dogfoot, Bigfoot, Dogman. That's a new one, Dogfoot, Dogman, or like Bigfoot, or these kind of things that people see. I mean, just recently in the 10-foot beings people saw in their backyard in Las Vegas, supposedly, you know, and people have seen creatures. Sometimes they say they're interdimensional.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. No, I think that connects to the superheroes that I mentioned earlier. The Bigfoot thing and so on, that these they're on the sort of astral layer, or on the etheric layer, shall we say, of the earth, so that people psychically come across these things, and they were the crossbreed between the Atlanteans and the indigenous people that I mentioned earlier, who were huge. So they were much, much larger than us, you know, today. And some of them have turned up. That's right. You know, you can see sort of imprints, or indeed, I've seen before now in a museum somewhere some fossilized huge specimen, you know. And that's what they've been told. But they're on the etheric layer for us to tune into when we're sort of musing, or in a state of half consciousness almost. It comes through then, yeah. But not maybe as aliens, no.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Light and love to all.
Oh, thank you, Jan, for calling in. Have a happy 4th of July weekend too.
You as well.
Thanks. You know, the Bigfoot thing we've had on the show is, that there's a lot of people's experiences with Bigfoot or Dogman do seem like they're in some kind of other conscious state with them sometimes.
Yeah.
Not always,
Yeah.
but a lot,
Yeah.
especially Dogman.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does seem to be something
Yeah.
like that psychically going on.
I remember talking to another psychic, and he was talking about, again, somebody was all over the news that had seen this really strange monster that they'd never come across before. And he said, well, I saw it at the same time as well, but I knew it was actually psychic. He didn't. He thought it was real, So, yeah, so you can mistake, that's right, what you see. If you see it very clearly, you think it's there, but actually it can be a psychic phenomenon. That's right.
It would explain why nobody's found the Bigfoot body. That's been the one side of it. But I've had guests on here that are done a lot of research, and they believe it's a physical creature. I'm up in the air, and I've never had a Bigfoot experience. I've had a lot of paranormal experiences. I've seen spirit. I've seen entities. I was attacked by the shadow entity. I don't believe it was a human spirit. That attacked me. So I believe there are things on the other side that we're interacting with in so many different ways we don't realize.
Yeah,
on a daily basis.
That's right, all the time. We're surrounded by all sorts of energies and entities, and we can't see them, except just occasionally, we'll sort of jump out the loop and spot something, but it's a psychic experience as opposed to, true sight. But it looks the same. It can look exactly the same. That's the strange thing.
But at the same time, I also believe, you talk about interdimensional beings and stuff like that. I do believe there are. Like I said, an ancient aliens kind of guy. I'm also a current aliens kind of guy. I believe we have alien contact happening right now. Mm-hmm. I believe maybe they're interdimensional. Maybe they're from, I don't know, Sirius. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But people, it's happening. People are seeing things. I have friends that are abductees. There's a lot going on, and a lot of the warnings my abductee friends get, or a lot of I've seen in the history of abduction is warnings about the Earth and protecting this planet.
Yes, I think they do. They do come down to protect it and to check out what's going on. And there's a lot going on, and we are part of the universe, and all the planetary influences are strong too. All the energies coming from all the planets, all the light energy coming from those, and so on. It's quite an extraordinary world that we live in, and an awful lot of that is completely unknown to 99.9% of the population.
Right. Well, it always amazes me how people aren't curious or open their eyes to these things. Like I was saying at the beginning of the show, when they say, people are theorizing like the whole Titanic sub thing was like a distraction. I'm like, people are distracted by the stupidest things. Like by what did Kim Kardashian post on Instagram? I know I always use the Kardashians example because they're the stupidest people. I'm sorry, but I'm just saying we are so distracted by the stupidest things when there's these big questions, things that are we're all gonna die. We're all I think we've all been here before. There are all these deep thoughts and questions people should have. It's the inevitable of your existence.
That's right.
That people just go through their lives caring about the stupidest things. We don't need some big distraction to take our attention away from some major event that they're trying to hide. No, we distract ourselves with the stupidest things.
Yeah, man is judgmental. I think that's one of the biggest problems with the ego and free will is that people tend to be judgmental. They judge you and they don't even listen. They're so unprepared to.
They label you as this
mindset.
or that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You'd be labeled as the homeopathic nut. I've heard
that's
that.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of hang on, just listen and see how much that might help my health issues. And I've always been broad-minded. I'll give anything a go, and that's the way you learn. By giving it a shot and seeing what happens.
My wife, when I told her you were coming on, she has to work tomorrow, so she had to go to bed. But I was telling her what you were in their book, and my wife's getting more and more homeopathic, more and more natural. She's growing a garden, she's
wonderful.
She's so on the stuff they're putting in the food, and
it's fantastic what homeopathy can do. It's just amazing. And you think, well, why on earth don't people at least try? But they won't. No, I don't believe in it. So it's placebo or something. I don't believe in it, so I'm not going to do it.
Well, how many of these people are going to line up for synthetically, genetically grown meat?
I know.
Grown
I'm
in a
quite
lab,
happy to do that. That's right.
Right.
It's mad, absolutely mad.
But they're starting it out in San Francisco and Washington D.C. is where they're gonna start these selling synthetically grown chicken. And I'm like I said when I was doing this news segment is like I don't like the butchering of animals. I would like my mom is a vegetarian. As part of me would like to be because I think we do have a cruel industry sometimes. When we have these huge I think regular old school farming isn't as cruel. Cattle and the way you did it back in the day, but now we have an industry, for it to fill the fast food giants and all the other processed crap. And, it's not great.
Yeah.
I've been to old abandoned slaughterhouses and there's a bad vibe mojo there, so it's almost made me vegetarian because of that feeling, so it'd be great to have some substitute, but I just don't think I trust them growing genetically grown meat.
No,
cells.
I mean this whole sort of tampering with the genes is really worrying. It's just not. It's not something.
It's extremely worrying.
But
we have what I love. You live in England. You guys have a lot better restrictions on your food than we do here.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
We have a horrible FDA. Like the stuff they're putting in food is ridiculous. Like that's what we need to change here. You talk about preventative medicine. I think so much of the diseases and everything happening right now could be prevented by diet.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they could. That's right, and also by buying organic.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
It's chemicals. It's over-chemicalization of the body, and chemicals are coming at us from all directions at the same time. It comes through the food. It comes through conventional medicine.
Air quality is the newest thing
it's all
here.
Chemicals. Yeah.
In the Midwest here, we're all coming outside and smelling like a burning plastic smell, and they got fog. And they say it's the Canadian fires. I don't, whatever, but it's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. So and that all contributes to asthma and all sorts of problems. But you just have to think it through for yourself, and gradually sort of move into a much more greener way of living.
I hope it's like I want an awakening to this, to what you do in homeopathy, and people getting back to growing their own gardens. I want more local gardens, big, big enough to sustain the community, but near it. You don't have to ship it.
Flying it over from another country is madness,
right?
Isn't it?
We do it though. I mean, that's what we're doing.
We do. There's so much wrong with society at the moment.
That's what I'm saying. Do you feel like we're at a turning point? We're going to turn away from this.
Yeah,
we're going to do something better.
There's a new awakening coming, and it could be a bit turbulent, but it will. We'll get through that, and then
because there's multi-billion-dollar industries that are against that.
Yeah, that's right.
You.
Well, this is it. Big corporation.
Yes,
that's
what I'm saying.
We're money to be made, and big
it's a
corporation
behemoth.
just, is really and they influence, of course, the media and all this.
Yeah, they've tried to shut your what you do up for a long time.
Yeah. Well, through ridicule, probably through ridicule or whatever works.
Or just pure
for
out
them.
censorship.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So just have to mention something on the media, and you get. You get sort of shut down. So, yeah, it's a big problem. But
what is a big problem? Because people aren't allowed to speak truths or open up to new ideas or ideas that are actually not new or old. We've changed the. You talk about fearing to speak out. That's where people are at nowadays. You're gonna get labeled as an anti-vaxxer.
I know,
conspiracy theorist, or
that's right,
homeopathic nut.
That's right. They have these words which suddenly take on a meaning of their own.
Just shut you up is what it is.
Just listening to practical good sense. I mean, that's all it is really. At the end of the day, it's good sense.
What harm would it be to do to look within, or to eat more natural foods that have less preservatives? What's horribly evil about that?
What can be wrong with that? That's right.
What's wrong with it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. That we have a multi-billion-dollar industry that depends on you to be sick.
Yeah.
We not only have a forever war, we have a forever sick.
Yeah.
I was saying there's so many people with chronic conditions and And in America, I feel like we're here. We always want the quick fix. We want a cure all for. We want something to just fix this, or especially the mental issue we have in this country. That's one of the biggest fears I have is that we have. It's not just health. It's not just your physical health. We have mental health issues, major mental health issues in this country. That it scares me. I feel like we're going through like a psychosis. Or a mental breakdown of fundamental morals and ethics and beliefs, and we're really like struggling. Is it, like I said, is it the darkest before the dawn kind of deal? Like we're going to break through this and come out more enlightened. Is my hope, my prayer for it.
There will be a change, but the message coming through is always back to meditation. The more you can get people to meditate, the more they can pull themselves out of all that mess, that mental illness and stuff. Because you do. I mean, I found that myself with a meditation where you go into a very deep place and you come out feeling so tranquil, because so much of the angst and the anxiety and everything else of life has just been released. And if you could get everyone to do that, it'd be amazing. I mean,
my kids are
a different place. Yeah.
My wife, I've been trying to get them to meditate for years, but just recently we went through some stuff, and my wife got them meditating. Like, I'm like, oh wow, I've been trying that for years. So should my oldest son, and she does it, and I'm like. But I'm like, hey, happy they're doing it, but that's the thing is people. There's so many people that are walking around. I just picture them as zombies because they are so caught up in useless materialistic lives that they're not looking within. They're nowhere near coming to the idea of meditation.
Yeah,
and they're easily fooled people, and it is not a judgment on them. It is a society that's created this. It's not a judgment on anyone. I feel like we built up to this point where we either wake up or we just fall apart.
Yeah, and we're also so reactive because the nervous system is completely on edge half the time, and that's another reason to, rather than go off to your GP and get some tranquilizers, which you then get addicted to because they've got side effects, is to meditate and just calm down, take a walk in the park or whatever, and take a few homeopathic remedies and so on and so forth. And then you find that actually does a much better job and a much more permanent job than taking your Valium and then it wearing off and then you're addicted to taking more Valium. And, it's the whole nature of medicating people is short-term fix. And that's why it's so effective, because it is because it's an immediate, thing, isn't it? You take a pill and whoa, you're in a different place.
And I'm not, we're not saying for people not to get help when you need, to get help. I do think there are medications that help people.
You need that. That's right.
Yeah.
Before you sort of shoot somebody or whatever.
It's something that can help you get along, but there's deeper things that need to happen.
Yeah, but at the same time, taking your sort of method of survival, but then at the same time it would be a good thing to look at other aspects to chip away at the deeper reasons behind, so that you feel a more wholesome and strengthened character over a period of time. Because natural medicines and all these things, they take time for the body to adjust and become stronger and more calm and more perceptive. Modern day society is fundamentally a quick fix, isn't it? And then we can move on.
That's what I'm saying about America, especially.
Yeah.
Is that we are totally geared into the quick fix. I mean, you can look at your drug commercials on every show or TV show you watch. How many drug commercials it pays for all your media? Big pharma is your news. Watch any news broadcast. How many pharma medications come up in the newscast? And then they have those really quick side effects they read across. May cause death. It's just like. I want us to achieve medical miracles, and science is great.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like the wheels have gone off the rails, we're throwing things at the wall to see what works, and we're the guinea pigs. You also make a point that there's a difference, because between Mother Nature and Gaia. We haven't gotten into that tonight. We're going to go to commercial break here in about 10 minutes, but I want to get into some of that before we end the show tonight. But I also want to get into, without YouTube getting upset about it, but COVID, that it was, I don't know how to put it. I'm trying to think how you put it in the book, but purposeful in a sense. Like, I don't know how you want to describe
Yeah,
it.
well, I mean, I think what I've said is all plagues are
Right.
come for a reason. It was a plague. You know, we've had plagues in the past. This is another plague, and they're all purposefully sort of set in time in order to achieve a great change of consciousness. And I think that that's probably, you know, what's happening now. I mean, I find it in this country, and maybe you in your country, is that people are a lot more nervous. They've been through a terrifying situation where they thought they were going to die, and they haven't recovered from that. You know, they're still
Right.
on edge, thinking, well, maybe you know, where's the next plague coming? You know, they haven't
Right.
recovered. They need to sort themselves out. But the part of that sort of process is, you know, is challenging them as people to grow in a deeper way. So that's really what I was saying about the C word.
Yeah.
Is that it's
Voldemort.
one plague of many, and it has been sent to change society, and it does seem to have done that a lot. I mean, just from people
yeah.
around here. You
I work
know.
retail, man. It's killed
Yeah.
us.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, look at the turmoil, and that's right, with all the shops, you know, going bust, and interest rates going through the sky, and you know, the whole of Britain has altered dramatically, you know, as a result of that, and people still haven't recovered. I mean, they're still going around with their masks half the time, you know.
I mean,
Or
I know.
certain
I watch people in their car alone in their car with a mask all
with
the
a
way
mask,
on.
absolutely. Yeah, what are they doing? But
I don't know.
But that it matters to them. They think they're going to die if they take it off. You know, so you can see the turmoil going on in their heads just through, you know, looking at them.
It's also, you know, it also seemed like a test. Because there was this whole, and I'm trying to tread this carefully, but the whole, and I was, you know, could have lost my job basically because of a certain medication they wanted everybody to take, right? We all know what we're talking about. Being forced upon people. I'm sorry, that's what it was. And like I said, I have a thing about control and power over other people. Don't tell me what to put in my bag. Go screw yourself is my reaction to that. You know, innate reaction, you know. And there's so much coming out now about how wrong they got things.
Yeah.
On so many
right.
levels. And I think we are only at the tip of that.
I think so. Yeah, because that's right. Because the mainstream media won't touch that.
Like I said, what's in every commercial ad? That tells you everything you need to know why they're not touching that.
Yeah. But yes, I mean, there's a lot of questioning going on outside, you know, what we would call the BBC, which is like our sort of, you know, jolly good folks kind of, you know, intellectual media.
Government-funded
absolutely
media is not a great idea.
Right behind the establishment, you know.
Yeah.
But there are other channels, and they are saying, "What the hell were we doing? This was completely and utterly wrong." You know.
Look, RFK Jr., I would never have thought in our country would have been trending in the polls at 17% that he is right now in a primary race against an incumbent president. Never thought, because he has been labeled everything as anti-vaxxer and everything, you know, that they could do to try to silence him, because he's been litigating against Monsanto. He's done environmental stuff, and then he got in the whole vaccine thing, and that's just like, oh, once he stepped into that arena, his name was mud, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But here we are. It's like just in the last week or two, he seemed to be trending, and I'm like, that something shifted.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, they
spotted it. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like that's a shift, a consciousness shift. I've felt it. You know what I'm saying? Because it was just, you know, not months ago, people would, that guy's crazy, and now there's some people I think are like, yeah, I like that guy. You know, I'm like.
Yeah, and yet when you read what he's got to say, he's perfectly sane. I mean, you know, this is
he doesn't back down from an argument.
No,
he's and with a speech problem. I also thought he would never have a chance on the public frame because of his neurological speech issue that he has. But it's what he's saying doesn't matter. It's getting through to people. I think that's really interesting. I'm really interested by. In the last couple weeks, I've seen a momentum, and I'm like, it's not about politics. It's about, I'm talking about a consciousness shift of listening to somebody who has been maligned like this for the last I don't know how many years. You know, especially during the height of COVID, he was totally maligned for the stuff he was saying. You know what I'm saying? But now he's like actually having, like, you know, he had a town hall. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, there's still people like, well, we can't have him. He's dangerous misinformation.
Yeah,
You know, that's
right. That is it's so frustrating. So frustrating.
That's what but I'm just telling you, I'm seeing a shift. I'm seeing some kind of that gives me hope. I haven't had a lot of hope lately, but that some people are listening, and there is a consciousness shift. You know that people are waking up. Especially, I hope people wake up to to how, especially in America, how bad the things are in our food. I used to eat McDonald's like every day, horribly. Now that I've cut that, I don't eat it anymore, and I've cut a lot. My wife's like literally gone through the grocery list of cutting things out. I can't eat this processed stuff anymore. Like I tried today to eat something I used to eat all the time, a honey bun. Just a nasty cheat. I can eat it. I couldn't eat it. I took one bite and I almost got sick.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think once you start to use, raw ingredients, which are fresh, and you go back to the supermarket stuff, it's just like, oh, what am I doing with this?
Your body tells you.
It's just
like
not the same. Yeah, your body doesn't feel too good about it. That's right. Yeah.
But that's what I'm seeing. I want to see. I'm hoping that's what I'm seeing is a shift of people to start questioning and start looking and discovering that there's other ways to live and better ways to live, and that we need to change the systems that we have when it comes to around our medication and food and what we're doing. The long-term side of consequences. Science is great, but a lot of times science just dives right in without thinking about long-term consequences, and I have lots of history to back me up on that.
Yeah.
And that's my fear. We are AI. I mean, we haven't got the AI probability. We're going so fast with AI technology. We're going so fast with gene therapy. We're going so fast with these very dangerous tools.
And it's not the individual. It's the corporation that takes over, isn't it? That's the problem. Is the corporation pays people very, very well, handsomely, to do their research. And if you talk to any one individual, they'd say, do you know what? I don't think this is a really good idea. But the corporation's too strong.
But isn't that like the kind of the theme with humans and humanity? It's like as an individual, I feel all of us within all of us.
Yeah, we all know what to do on an individual basis.
Like in all of us, there's an innate good. I want to always try to hold on to that faith, the belief that there's innate good in all of us.
Yeah.
But when we come together, sometimes we're just stupid.
We get swept through with temptation and material benefits and high profit margins and huge salaries, and we just get swept along.
And sometimes it's like we reinforce our stupid ideas. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's like I think we can come together and do great things. People have come together and done great things too. Amazing things for humanity as a group. But sometimes it's like corporations. What they epitomize is the lack of morality.
Yeah, I mean, this is where you need the philosophers really to run the country. The philosophers have morals and ethics.
Like our founding fathers, like I said, they weren't perfect people, but they were trying to be. They were trying to be better.
Yeah, that's right. In the way that governments simply don't have that, and we have the House of Lords over here, which in theory should be like that. In practice, of course, they're just they just go along. They either belong to Labour or the Tories.
No, there's no difference here.
They vote tribally, but they should be higher than that. They should be higher beings with deep philosophical understanding of life. That's the purpose, I should think, of setting it up. Yes, you have your Senate, don't you? And your
that are completely most bought out by some kind of lobbyists.
Yeah,
For
quite.
big pharma, military industrial complex, take your pick. Like I said, if they wore NASCAR coats, they could have the labels of all the people that paid for them, that'd be great, so we can know
quite.
why
I know.
they do the stuff they do.
It would be quite an eye opener, and I think also for the media as well. If you knew quite how many bribes the media took from various donations,
or paid advertisement.
But of course, it's all it's all undercover.
Or it's not very uncover. I mean, like I said, watch the commercial breaks between your news segments, and it tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
It's their advertising money. That's what they get. That's what I'm waiting for. Is like I feel like there is a shift happening. There is a conscious shift, and that's why we're having like all these struggles and societal struggles. Is that there is this conscious shift. People are waking up to it. At the same time, we also are still reaping the rotten fruit of generations of people growing up with a lot of misinformation. They label all of our stuff as misinformation, but the thing is people have been misinformed about a lot of things for a long time on a lot of different levels. And I think there's an awakening to that, and that's why we're seeing so much struggle in the world.
I think we've always been ruled by somebody. I mean, if you go back to the Middle Ages, it was the Catholic Church.
Right.
And then,
that was a force.
as that gradually waned, you get science taking over. I mean, science is the new religion, really. And so you get this crossover period in the 17th century, whereas the church is, beginning to go down, science is beginning to come up. And now, we're certainly in Britain, we're not in a particularly sort of religious country any longer. I think a lot of people are probably atheists, but they do believe in science. So that's their new.
And it's its own religion.
It is. Yeah.
It is.
So if you cross science, you're an idiot, because that's obviously what you should be understanding is
ultimately, though,
the best thing
science
for
should be
you.
about questioning. And not dogma or the science. The science says so.
Yeah.
Science should be always questioning and knowing that you could get things wrong. That's my opinion on it. We got to go to our last commercial break. We'll come back, keep the phone line. We'll have the phone lines back open when we come back. If anybody else wants to call in, D, I saw you were asking, but he called in. We have one caller. You're welcome to call in, D. Anybody else, you're welcome to call in too. We will come back with our guest tonight, Diana Mary Rose. She is the author of Atlantis and Gaia Magic, Reincarnation, COVID, and Earth Healing Today. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about this concept I just got to in the book, where you say Mother Nature is not Gaia, that there's a difference between the two. I'm interested in hearing more about that when we come back from the short commercial break.
Intercepted a transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated.
I don't want to hear it.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and
This is an Apex Studio presentation.
Hi, I'm Barry, owner-operator of Barry's Barometer Barn. Lately, I bet you've been lying awake at night asking yourself, how many barometers do I really need? Well, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we think you need more than one. Otherwise, we're gonna go out of business. Remember, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we don't know the meaning of high-pressure sales. Come on, folks, buy another barometer. I'm trying to put my kids through college, I've got a family to support, and a secret mistress who isn't cheap.
Visit Barry's Barometer Barn, 000 Storm Drive. Come on, folks, buy a barometer. I'm Barry's older brother, Larry, and every time one of you people walk past the store without coming in, Barry beats me.
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
When Alex Gardner is asleep, he has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it, the scientists want it, but to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all, but he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Heat 'em up. Do, re, be gone.
You're listening to the Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight, our guest has been Diana Marie Rose. She's the author of Atlantis and Gaia Magic, Reincarnation, COVID, and Earth Healing Today. Talking a lot about reincarnation, karmic cycles. She's got some celebrity reincarnation stuff here in her book that's really interesting, especially getting to like William Shakespeare, John Lennon, Prince Charles. I'm not a big fan of the royals, but it is interesting. It is interesting to see what she's divined from their past incarnations. I honestly, I don't. I think the world would be changed greatly if more people experienced a past life, really had the experience like I had, having a vivid dream. Even I always said this on the show: if everybody one night had a vivid dream of one of their past lives, it would change the world, because we'd understand there's so much more going on around us and how past lives affect us now, and who we are. We're much more than this persona. It would open people's minds. I love people more to discover the idea that they've been here before. Our guest tonight, Diana Mary Rose. We'll take your questions. We had about less than a half hour left of the show. Phone lines are now open. Call in, join the conversation, but let's go ahead and get back to our guest. Thank you for staying with us tonight, Diana. Now, I've said this on the show. I always would think it'd be a great story idea. But one night, everybody had a vision like I did of their past life, how it would change the world. People to wake up to that concept.
Although you'd be surprised actually how many people do know about it, but they keep dead quiet. I mean, because I've practice as a homeopath, and I tend to just chat away if I feel comfortable anyway with people, and then they'll say to me, "Do you know what? I've never told anyone this before, but," and out comes this incredible sort of story about a past life, and said, "I know absolutely that was me in a past life." They know it, but they don't tell anyone. And if you don't go around telling people, then other people don't feel free to tell their stories either. I mean, you had one guy who came and he said the first time he went to Rome on holiday, he said, "I knew exactly all the streets. I knew exactly where to go. I'd never been there before in my life, and yet I understood the layout of Rome perfectly." It's remarkable. And I think it was just the average guy in the street you'd see in Tesco shopping, and but he said, "I wouldn't tell anybody else, of course. I only tell you because I think I'm safe telling you."
You're right. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, not going to be ridiculed
And so,
by you.
you don't really know how many people out there do understand on an individual basis, but they at the same time they bow down to the authorities and how they should be living and so on. Yeah.
I've had guests on that point out that there's a lot of evidence that the early Christian church believed in reincarnation.
Yeah, I think they did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think they did. I think they cut it right out. Because for whatever reason, it's a power grab, isn't it? And for some reason, it suited them to do so.
It's about power and control, fear going to hell.
Yeah. I mean, what's available in the Vatican Library, I don't know. But I mean, I had a friend who was a monk and spent some time in Rome at the Vatican, and what he discovered, the books that he discovered in the Vatican Library, upset him so much that he left the church, and he'd been a monk for decades at that point. But basically, it was because they were hiding esoteric works which should have been out there for the public to read. And he was absolutely shocked what was there. So, and that was just a friend of mine who had a friend who'd been through it. So, yeah, there's a lot of cover-ups. It's sad. Yeah.
But I always feel truth will prevail in the end. Like I feel like truth's an inevitable force of its own that tries to find its way to get through to people.
Yeah.
As hard as it might be sometimes, But I think reincarnation's a truth that's got to make its way through civilization eventually.
Yeah, and we'll all come back into a future life form as well, in the new era, as it's called. And it'll be a very different situation then. Yeah.
I also feel like, I mean, depending on some souls, I mean, a lot of us probably lived on different planets. So if we go back for it, you think that's possible that we are alien souls?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I've heard that before now as well. That's right. It's not something I've put in my books yet, but I have certainly heard that from up there from my spirit guide that we do come from different.
I mean, as a civilization, we could be reliving, and we might have relived several times the karmic cycles of another planet we destroyed. Like we've probably been through this multiple times. But it's like, are we learning? Like, I don't know. Sometimes I have like great hope, and some days I have just total like, oh, I can't stand humanity. You know,
We're all
I'm
in
up and
our
down.
little bubble on Earth because we come down and they close the door to everything that we already knew, and we have to sort of play it from scratch. It always seems a bit unfair sometimes, doesn't it? You know, to think, well, why can't you just? But there again, everybody has a mission, and you can't achieve that mission if you know it all. From other lifetimes, it would be too much to handle. So I think we're reduced to a very small, a fraction really of our information in order to achieve enlightenment.
Given only the like the two vivid dreams were given to me for a purpose. Just I probably have lived a lot more multiple lives than that, but they were given to me a purpose. I think to teach me how or show me how I'm wired innately the way I am. You know, but there's probably a lot more.
Another thing that's interesting is the concept of love at first sight, and a lot of people will know that. You know, I hear it so often, and it certainly happened to me. I just heard a voice on the phone. I thought, well, that's the man for me, you know, and I hadn't even seen him. It was just the voice, you know. So the sonics here. But love at first sight is something that I think an awful lot of people understand, this incredible desire to be with someone. And pining indeed, you know, for somebody. And where does that come from? It comes
that
from
kind of
the
connection.
fact that you've known that person in a past life, so you immediately connect in this one. Makes perfect sense.
I think it's not just
being,
you know, people look at that as, you know, they see that when it comes to like, love and relationship like that, but it goes a lot broader than that. I mean, it goes with the friends you have and the people that are in your life now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That energetic pull towards certain people is profound. Now, I mean, either it's karma and, you know, past life connections, or it's just kind of weird. Because there isn't any other, you know, reason for it to happen, is it? You know, and yet so many sort of scientists say, "Oh, it's just chance," you know. No, you know, the logic is that we are pulled to them because we've known them before. You know.
I mean, me and my wife went to grade school together, and I had, when I was in like 5th grade, she was in a class with me, and I had a really weird experience. Because I never talked to her, you know, we never really talked to her. I actually made up her childhood horrible nickname that was tormented her. That's my problem, my bad. But I had this weird dream when I was really young, too young to have a dream like this. It was very kind of sexual with her. We were older, okay, and this is 5th grade. And I remember going to class and seeing her, and I think that's why I came up with the nickname. It was like some way to like little kid way of dealing with it, maybe. I don't know, but it's like somehow we were destined to be together, and you know, I couldn't imagine being with anybody else.
Yeah.
But I had to go through a lot of other stupid relationships before that. You know, it's like, and thank God we didn't talk to each other in high school. Thank God. I would have ruined our relationship, you know. So thank God.
Yeah.
You know, but it's weird. You come together at the right time. You know, we ended up meeting or talking and dating at the right time in my life. I was at a point where I was ready to become a Buddhist monk again in my, you know, because I wasn't a past life. I was really looking into joining a monastery. I was done with relationships, and then she kind of came across my path, and everything changed from there.
Yeah, I mean, one couple that come into my book is Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor, who have married twice, or did marry twice. They've also played lovers in films as well, and they came through as certainly a couple who were working through karma furiously through many incarnations. You know, and you can
yeah, they had some karma.
Yeah. They couldn't live together, and yet they couldn't live without each other. You know, and also they did films together as well, so that you have this incredibly intense situation between them. That comes from past lives, you know, and they're trying to learn something through that.
I think actors are just very confused. It's because, well, you know, see how many of them hook up after starring in a movie together, and then they get some romantic whirlwind, and then it just ends in horrible hatefulness of each other. Yeah. You know, like it's like, I don't know, like they devolve themselves into a part so much, and I think they're people. I think a lot of actors are people who are looking for like they like being somebody else, and they want a deep connection with somebody too. But everything's so superficial in Hollywood. It's like they're set up for failure.
Yeah.
They're all wearing personas and facades at a maximum, you know, not being their true selves. That's what I think. An actor, you say they kind of might get to live out their karma, but what I've known seems like a lot of actors are. Some of them are brilliant, you know, and some are just really stupid. You know, some of these actors, if you hear them talk, but some of them, it just seems like they are trying to escape. You know, in a sense, like it's easier to be somebody else.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I there was an interview with Laurence Olivier a long time ago, and he said he didn't even know who he was. He was simply whoever he was playing at the part. Who am I? You know, and he'd lost any sense of his true self, which is really strange. You know, it's just
look at Robin Williams. I mean, what a beautiful. I mean, one of my favorite movies is What Dreams May Come. You want to talk about past lives and the other side and all that, and I love that movie. I love Robin Williams, but I remember who was it? Another actor, somebody that knew him really well, said they watched him just break down because he was mentally breaking down as the disease was affecting him, but that he what did he say? He said he was not he didn't know who to be or when he was alone. He couldn't be alone. He had to be around people, making people happy.
Yeah, he was whatever part he was playing. Yeah, sounds like Laurence Olivier all over again. You know, they that's right. I guess there's such
so brilliant and sad at the same time. Like, he was such a brilliant comedian and such a seems like such a wonderful person, but so deeply troubled, and not just because of his disease that he had later in life. That really. It seemed he had that for most of his life, you know, because he had drug issues and stuff like that. But you know, like I said, nobody is perfect. We all have our karmic cycles to work out or issues to work out, but he seemed like such a special person. You know, like I mean, just watch his comedy specials and stuff. You know, just watch him around people. Watch him with a gorilla. Like, remember ever seen him with that gorilla that could sign language and his interaction with that gorilla? You know, like he just seemed like such a wonderful. He gave himself to everyone, but didn't do anything for himself. You know, like a very selfless person is what he seemed like.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get out of balance, can't you? Giving too much and not receiving.
Well, that's the scene. That seems like some of these brilliant celebrities that they burn out so fast. You know, like they're like a candle that's super bright but burns out super fast. They're like they're so much brilliance you can't handle it. You know, I would never want to be famous. I'll tell you that. I would love to have their money. You know, I'd love to have the money, but I wouldn't want to be, you know, where your whole life is scrutinized and you're divorced, if you're divorced or something like that, and then everybody's talking about it and gossiping about it, and like all your personal dramas put out there. You know, that would be horrible. I don't know who would want that, but people obviously are making that choice come in here and incarnate to do that for whatever karmic reason, you know.
The other thing, though, I understand about celebrities is they come to entertain us. That is part of their healing potential.
Right. Well, that's why I think Robin Williams was a healer in a sense.
Yeah, they can be great healers through their entertainment value, and that is their purpose, to show us different parts, you know, that we can play and they can play and so on. But they are great lights within society, definitely. Yeah.
The only thing I don't like about society is how we put these people up on pedestals and forget that they are human. You know, that they are no different than you or me, and they can be troubled just as much as any other person. You know, like we want to, and in politics we do that now. You know, our politicians are now celebrities, and I hate it. And you know, I get it. You know, it's where we're at, but people are people. We're all, and that's just the thing. It's what the energy I felt that I described as God. It was non-judgmental, but it also made me realize that I should not judge others. And I'm imperfect. I do judge others. I'm human, but I try not to. I try to remember that and try to live by empathy and compassion and to understand I don't know it all. and that I haven't been in that person's shoes to judge them. I try to remind myself of that every day.
Yeah, we are, that's right, at essence, pure love. And just occasionally, and I've certainly had another experience as well. I think it was a dream. I think it was a dream of just experiencing. I suppose all you could say is at oneness with the universe, or whatever it is. But I mean, it was an unbelievable sense of pure love. And once you've experienced that, you can't forget it. It is
right. It changes you.
It changes you. Yeah, into being more sort of, well, more accepting, really, I think, of society.
Accepting of others.
Yeah, accepting of others. I mean, it's a shame that, it's like everybody else down the road doesn't have the same experience, because, of course, I mean, it's man's nature to judge, isn't it, as you say. And,
we don't want to listen to each other. We want to classify each other as this or that, and you're either on my side or you're against me. Is the world I feel like we've gone into in the last several years, and I hate it.
Yeah, I mean, when I got to university at 18, even then, people were judging. Think, God, if you're judging at 18, what chance have you got for the rest of your life? And yet, at some point that sets in, doesn't it? I don't know whether it's maybe teenage years or something, this sense of
the
judging,
human condition,
and I just know it all, and I'm not listening.
That's
to
being a teenager.
No, yeah, that's right. And
I was.
They never release that, Yeah,
hopeless. Well, I think group mentality, again, like I said, is you get, especially if it comes from a place of fear, can be a very dangerous, powerful thing.
Yeah,
and I think we saw that during COVID.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's happened over the last couple of years. People have really felt the depths, gone into the depths of their soul, in a sense, feared for their lives, and they've come out, gibbering wrecks, and some of them still are.
I mean, people, it's serious. People did die. People.
They did.
Lots of people
absolutely,
died.
they did. That's right.
Yeah.
But most of us didn't, and it's kind of like recovering from that and regaining your poise and your sense of confidence. And a lot of people just haven't. They haven't, and maybe that's part of what needs to be, what needs to happen in order for us to come through and create a new world together.
Yeah, the question is do we give in to fear, or do we move beyond it? I feel like we're on the tipping point. It's like, do we give in to fear and give our freedom away for government or whoever to protect us, from which they can't, or do we wake up and realize not to live our life in fear? To live our life, it is the question, and to learn to start listening and be compassionate to others. That's the biggest thing as a father, I'm trying to teach my children is compassion, to put themselves in other people's shoes. Not, and like I said, it is a human condition. I feel that we do judge and we don't. I think we have both good and bad in us. We have the good part that can have compassion. We get that compassion easily when we can put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, when we can recognize or connect with somebody on something, that personally we've affected us, or somehow we connect. But we got to start going beyond that, where we can try to connect with somebody that's totally different than us, has totally different opinions than you do, but try to have compassion for them.
I think you see it as well when kids are born. I mean, some are born with a huge ego, and some are humble. That they bring that through from birth, and you see that at little children's birthday parties at the age of 3, don't you? Some of them being really boisterous and sort of or greedy indeed. Taking all the cakes from the birthday party, and others holding back,
I'm a proud father when I have had both my sons at different times cry because they saw somebody homeless on the street. Both of them have had that moment where they've seen somebody homeless on the street and they cried. Like it upset them because they were thinking at that. I realized they're thinking what it'd be like to be out on the street, to have nothing, You know,
Yeah.
That young of age, they can have that empathy. That's what I want.
Mm.
Not to judge others or say, oh, that person deserves it. They're lazy or stupid or whatever. People do, and put people in boxes and have no compassion.
They do. They shut down. And part of that's probably the education system. Part of it's the Western church, you know, and its dogmatic views and so on. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, religion, Christianity has many compassion people that do a lot of great things, for humanity, and same with Buddhism and other religions can move people to have compassion. And I have nothing against people that devout to their faith, but live it. And
except that they have a fear of the supernatural, don't they? You know, the church has a massive fear of the supernatural.
The church does. Organizations, yes.
Yeah, it's all right if it's in the Bible. That's okay. All that stuff in the Old Testament, which is supernatural in many respects. I mean, Moses,
I lean towards ancient aliens when it comes to the Old Testament, but that's just me.
There's so much supernatural stuff in there, but church on the whole will persecute, what I would regard as, the real sort of aspect
miracles.
to life. Yeah, miracles. Unless they're within the church, they will tell you it's dangerous. Actually, they'll say it's dangerous, won't they?
Yeah, because it's dangerous to their power.
Yeah. Quite. That's exactly why. Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of organized religion.
Yeah,
but I'm a fan of people being spiritual. There's a decline in people going to Catholic churches. There's a decline in people going to a lot of different religions. That's great for the sense of people being done with like dogma and organized religion. But at the same time, I don't want to see people not be spiritual. I don't want to see people get sucked into this materialistic sense of the world that the science is the new religion.
Yeah.
I'm not against science either. Science is
it's all about balance, and that's something that comes into Atlantis and Gaia. It's about balance. It's about balance between science and balance of thought and balance of the universe and balance of big corporation, big agriculture, and balance of organic agriculture and at the moment the world is simply out of balance. It needs to be brought back into a state of harmony, and that's where it mentions Gaia, and Gaia is fundamentally the energy of life on Earth.
And then what is Mother Nature then? Because that's you mentioned in the book that they're different. They're two different entities.
Mother Nature is the healing capacity of Earth. It's the healing herbs. It's the shrubs. It's all the life form on Earth, whereas Gaia is the superpower behind the weather formations, the volcanic movements. It's the energy of the etheric layer of humanity, and that includes indeed ghosts and things. They're on the etheric layer as well. So Gaia is the life force of Earth, whereas Mother Nature is the healing capacity of Earth, the herbs and the healing powers on Earth, and the rainforests and the earth oxygen and things like that. So they interrelate, but they're different layers of understanding of how the world works outside the sort of scientific here and now, physical. You can feel it. If you can't feel it, isn't there, sort of thing. But looking down a test tube or whatever at what they can see.
Speaking of test, like I said, we're moving really fast with genetics. We're moving really fast with AI. We're doing things. Like I said, I believe in science. I think science has its part to play, but at the same time, science needs to get a moral and ethical soul to it.
There have to be rules to keep it all in place, and there aren't any. I think man is too fascinated to stop. He doesn't seem to be able to stop. He takes it all too far, and then it becomes rather scary.
Yeah, when it comes to nuclear, when the nuclear genie was let out of the bag, how many bombs we dropped and testing how much we affected this planet.
Yeah.
raining down radiation on ourselves.
Yeah, it's
you know,
madness. Killing ourselves off.
And when they did it, they there's arguments about if they were going to even destroy the world doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't know exactly, but they did it anyways.
Yeah, and to spend billions of pounds to meet on spaceships going out and looking at Mars. I mean, that seems to be a complete waste of money to me. I mean, why can't we just pour all those billions of pounds into organic lifestyle down here so that we can survive?
You know what,
better?
though? I'm not against that. See, I'm a space boy, fly boy.
Yeah.
I've always dreamed of Star Trek too, of us exploring the galaxy and the universe.
Yeah.
I feel like it is like Elon Musk says, like our destiny to do, but at the same time, we are not ready to go to Mars. Like we do not. We're so many technological things we need to solve first that are not happening. But I honestly feel like there is technology we have that would totally get us to Mars, but it's hidden from the public. But
you can't stop the scientist. I think he just loves what he's doing, doesn't he? It's impossible to.
It's great to strive.
It's like the genie out of the bag, as you say. You can't stop them once they've started. They just carry on.
I'm all for money going towards science and going to space. I think the money that we could get to do the greater things for society needs to come from stopping the military-industrial complex. Let's stop giving billions of dollars to destroy people and kill people.
I know. Yeah. It's weird. Yeah.
Imagine we spent trillions of dollars in other countries, on war. Imagine if we didn't spend that money. Where that, how much money would we have?
Where it could have gone. That's right.
Where it could have gone.
Yeah.
You got people that are like literally living off of like 80 cents a week to feed them, or a day to feed themselves, or whatever, even a week, or 80 cents a day to feed themselves, basically off of food stamps. You can judge people and say, "Oh, well, get a living, get a job." You don't know people or their shoes or what they've gone through, their circumstances. Some people need help, and there's assistance programs for that. And we have no money for it anymore. And we would if we didn't spend trillions of dollars going and blowing crap up in other people's countries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or giving or giving millions of trillions of dollars to other countries so they can blow themselves up. And blow others people up.
The arms industry must be one of the biggest silent. Because you never hear about it. I mean, we never hear about it.
Well, there's a reason you don't.
At all.
They don't want to stop the money. And now we got to end the show. There's so much we could have kept talking about. And I'd love to have you back on again. I just realized what time it is. I'm like, I could keep talking to you all night about this. But thank you so much for being on the show.
Well,
any last pieces of information you want to get out to the audience?
Well, I think that the big one is to meditate, actually. That is the big message. Get out there to a Buddhist center or wherever they do a weekend course on meditation and learn to meditate. And that will change your life more than anything else. It's a wonderful thing to do. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I've been trying to get more back in it. I'm trying to get back more into it, and my kids are, and I need it. I take 20-minute breaks at work sometimes just to go in my car, be quiet, and clear my mind, just a 20-minute meditation, I silently in my car so I can go back to the work day, it helps, it can help even in the smallest way.
It does a massive amount of good. Yeah. So that'd be.
Thank you so much, Diana, for being on the show. I'd love to have you again. Let me know when you have your another book coming out. Always feel free to email me and we'll get you back on the show.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. Well, thanks for inviting me. Yeah.
It was great. That's it, guys. That's it for the show. We will be back next Sunday, same bad time, same bad channel. Our guests next week are Tony Rothman and Ron Yakovati. I'm sorry if I butchered that, Ron. They are part of the Staticon project. That is an ITC instrumental transcommunication project to speak to the other side, spirits. They've got some amazing results. I've been kind of following them and asked to come on the show because I've been really intrigued by the results they're getting with their Staticon device and connecting to the other side with it. Next Sunday, same bad time, same bad channel, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Central, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific time. Keep checking us out and follow and subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Don't forget to share out the show to your friends. Keep telling them Paranormal Soup is a place where the paranormal happens live every Sunday night. Thank you for everybody who watches. Thank you to everybody who shares the show out. And thank you to my patrons. Your $2 or $5 a month donations do help pay the bills. All right, guys, have a great night. See you next week.